There's a hole in my mouth. This is a good one.
More from my pocket.
3 people are coming.
But I think
He's gonna have. He's like, this guy fucking sucks. I'm going to East Side.
management will be
You tell him. Hashtag Tundra, cool Tundra Instagram.
Do you think that payment makes it so?
Yeah.
You think
the
perks
yeah.
were free?
So mostly my expenses. So apart from my inspection, that's the only expense I have. Just to get the
Get your windows tinted yet?
maintenance. So
I haven't
this year it will
I
be.
didn't see anything. I got a guy that'll come pick it up. Come tomorrow.
Yeah. So
Remember how much the top, the rest of the round is on?
like not like
300?
But it more. But with
What a new gold one. Nice. No, this is the old one.
Increase the value of.
So this is Carlos.
Yes.
Hey Carlos, how you doing? Welcome.
This is Vlad. He's one of our acquisition brokers
How you
here.
doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, thanks for coming by. Have a seat, make yourself comfortable. We'll get
Yeah.
going at 6.
Because it's the current-
Grab a packet. Yeah. Get going pretty soon here.
Going up.
These are our hard money guys too. Kyle and Monroe.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Kyle.
It's gonna get more.
Nice to meet you.
I think I mentioned it.
Yeah,
you take one week ago.
I brought my own pens.
I think
James will be in here soon and yeah.
The silver stands out so much. I'm from Auburn, can't tell that's not the first thing you've seen.
Where you been going now?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Or work wise?
I'm a carpenter.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a carpenter. Yeah, for commercials. Yeah. Let's wrap it myself.
Good spot to be in.
Give me some rap. I'll take yours.
In the trade.
Should I just do the front too and not worry about it?
Yeah, just match it.
Exactly.
That's all I did. Yeah, I have an Airbnb right now.
What's he gonna charge me again for the wheels?
Like over a year.
Okay.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah,
Well, oh, he doesn't do it. He goes to the same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Sweet. Well, yeah, this is the place.
Well, maybe not the same guy.
Glad does a lot about clients and another guy, John. It's a good spot to be. Welcome in.
How'd you hear about us?
Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah. Podcast and all that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just, have any experience investing in yourself?
Yeah, I have an Airbnb.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a
Where at?
on Rochester. It's,
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's like 3 minutes past 1 p.m.
Okay. Did you buy it as you was gonna be Airbnb or?
No, I bought it just living in my house. I just wanted a house, but it was like 10 acres. And I was getting kind of like a retirement kind of mindset. Like I would just go home,
Yeah.
relax with my family, and I was like,
Yep.
this is boring.
Yeah.
So I just went for it, sold Airbnb, and lived in a family member's house for a month. For a year.
Where are you at now?
I finally got an apartment like 3 months ago
Cool. Where at?
in Auburn.
Auburn? Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And I overheard you do carpentry
Yeah, I'm a carpenter.
Okay.
Yeah.
mostly down south or?
No, I'm actually in Seattle, in Bellevue area.
Awesome. What company?
Abbott.
Oh, ABBOT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the general contractors.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys are busy.
Yeah.
What are you working on now?
We're modeling in Child Haven and Seattle on Broadway. They're gonna make it into some kind of like news studio or something.
Hi, good
And that's what's going on there. Yeah.
Cool.
John's finishing that up. We actually did model the Burj Maya. Yeah.
I haven't checked it out since the remodel. I'll go check out your work.
Yeah. That's right too.
How you doing? I'm Vlad.
Hey, I'm Sanjay.
Sanjay, nice to meet you. Yes. Vlad, nice to meet you.
Hey, one. Yeah. I was here last week, but I don't think it was.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a mishap on the schedule, but yeah, mostly these are first time investors. Or people that haven't been to it in a couple of years. We change them up every couple of years.
Yeah, there was some confusion, like, when I registered, it was like tomorrow 5 p.m. The mail I got said like tomorrow 5 p.m.
I host an Airbnb.
Some
Well, not I own it.
That's something different. That's a podcast. That he's hosting.
Yeah, I basically bought my house.
Just a Zoom
This is
podcast.
Zoom.
This is just a 101.
Yeah, I got confused.
I'm gonna partner.
I got I'm gonna be
Yeah, no, I-
Cash flow.
Yeah, I got
Main
there.
had like
I
July.
just went for it. I was tired of living
I'm like,
there.
oh, July. I registered in November, why am I getting July?
Yeah.
I don't know, if I
Yeah,
did
no,
something
it's
else.
cool.
I went back to
Yeah,
schedule,
so
I
I,
did something, I don't know what happened.
Well, we're trying to go through that and make sure that it's smooth progress.
I read everything.
You have experience yourself?
Just remodeled the house.
Experience yourself?
Right on, man.
So,
That's how you're
I,
going.
last year I bought the single family home in,
I like
Nice.
It's,
yeah, that's pretty much right now. And of course I own my home.
Yeah, what'd you do with that house?
So is that, is the
It's a, yeah, it's a
property
rental,
down
single
south?
family home
Yeah,
rental. We are not on the Indian rates.
Yep.
You might know.
Yeah, I know the
Yeah,
area.
so I think, I mean,
It's like 10 acres, but it's a nice home.
Nice home,
It's
yeah.
rental, you didn't have to do anything.
Yes,
It does very well.
yeah.
It's very-
Yeah, when we were looking, I felt like
Where are?
anyone
where
will
are
like
you
to
at?
live in
I'm
here
not.
because it's like very good community.
Right on.
Jobs throwing
And
a
so,
lot.
Yeah.
just looking at,
Especially
people
that
doing
project
the
is
same
like
thing, buying
community.
properties,
People
flipping
feel
them.
safe,
Yeah,
and like they
I'm
don't think
about to
twice.
sell that
Okay, I will just, I will rent it. Yeah, so that's why I
think I have guests until
but
January
buying a new home is expensive. I cannot scale.
So I'm
I'm like, I have to do different things. This is
So,
so.
why are you trying to get out of this? Just to get a sense of
Okay.
where you want to take your business, or you want to
Okay,
get.
yeah, so at
Yeah,
least you
learn more about it.
pricing.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right on.
And
Where would
basically,
you
I
be
would
looking at
like,
doing it? I mean, close to
I am
Auburn,
good, but with
wherever,
kids.
I mean, wherever the numbers
Like,
take you.
do some value add, take some value add properties and, hold it.
So we're gonna be able
And try to take out the initial investment,
And now
down
we're
payment that I made.
Yeah,
extent
so
I
an
can,
hour in any direction,
So you want to
cross travel
get
goes,
get some
and then
equity.
it just depends on
and then-
pricing, what you
Use
guys
that
will be
money
able
to
to
then buy some
afford.
rental.
No, I will do the same property I will hold. That's
So
it.
basically, that's what I'm doing.
It's a per, yeah, correct, it's a per, and I will hold them, that's the idea, if I can.
Sure, so you're looking at, you've got
Yeah, I
around
mean,
100K or
You
so.
can hold them
that
all,
you'd
it
be
just
ready
matter
to
how much,
once-
how much
ready to
threshold and how much
invest
money
in
you're
a
willing
flip
to
some
scale
other
out.
project.
Yeah, I was hoping to buy a house where I
It's a
could
good
live
opportunity.
in.
Buying
Nice
a
house.
little market.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
And,
Yeah, it's an additional way of cash flow, but that's not always the most important part.
We got a light group today, so it's gonna be very, it's gonna be very up close and personal.
Very nice to see you.
Yeah, sometime you have to meet.
In person, itself.
Yeah, we had a little mix up on the dates. So half the people showed up last week and half showed up this week, so. Now we're gonna get coaching.
Squeeze in, I guess.
Yeah. What, were your guys coming?
Yeah, Sergio's coming.
Oh, Sergio's coming.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
cool.
he's running a little late.
Okay.
Well, what? How are ya?
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, good to see you in person.
I know, very.
That's what I said, you know.
No screens.
Yeah.
I've never been so sick of looking into a screen before.
Nice to meet you.
Always enjoy the videos.
Oh,
Yeah,
appreciate it.
very well presented, you know, articulation.
We,
Really nice. A lot of information, every video has
This is my birthday.
definitely like value.
we try to put that out. It doesn't work as well online, like it doesn't get all, but
Yeah.
people like it seems like. So, try not to sell fluffy things.
Well, what are you guys talking about?
He was saying that he likes the content we put out because it's a little bit more educational based. So, we'll keep doing that. We'll try to stay away from all the other, a lot of stuff online hurts my brain.
Right.
I think one of the most substantive content that comes out.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Well, we got a nice cozy class, so this will be, and we just had that little mix up. So we'll dive right into this, guys, and because it's a smaller class, since we have questions, just go ahead and pipe up, ask questions, and we'll just keep it
Yeah,
pretty
we kind of
casual.
got a little bit of everything. We got a carpenter by trade over here with an
Okay.
Airbnb.
Do you need work?
Yeah.
Do you do work?
No, I'm probably gonna start
He works for
I have a
us.
partner that's a residential GC, so we're probably gonna be starting a company here in the next month or two.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah, to start flipping houses or to do work?
Yeah, so part of me is gonna be, I'm gonna build an ADU at the beginning of next year,
Okay.
and we're gonna try to just get with investors and really work with investors as a GC company.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Like building ADUs or the whole?
Well, that's gonna be the first one. I'm
Okay.
gonna ADU, see what happens. that's gonna be my project or our project, because my business partner is the GC also, so we're gonna be business partners as investors and as in the construction company.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you do it for yourself and for other people.
Yeah, the plan is to grow the business so I can do it for myself and other people out there at the
Nice.
same time, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely get a lot of ADU lot deals right now.
Yeah.
That is the trend right now.
Yeah, that's what I came up with. At the end of the day, I was like, this looks like the best way to go. Everybody wants an ADU, the government wants ADUs, so.
Yeah, you can kind of control your costs a little bit more too. It seems like.
Yeah, and then that investment, I've heard a lot about a building on large garage, where garages are, and that's really easy. Just the foundation is there, stick built, throw some siding, and some plumbing, some electricity, and
Yeah, that works really well for the rental ones. For the resale, not as much, just because the product's not that level. Like it's still a little bit weird because you're still building it off of like a foundation of a garage, but it's really good for the rentals because you can cut your costs down by like 40% over building from ground up.
one question I did have before we start.
Hey, it's okay. Hey, we got.
So like an ADU, you build an ADU at a home and you get $1,500, $2,000 worth of rent. Does that bring up the price of the property by $170,000, $200,000?
Say it again.
So like if you build an ADU in a house and you could rent out the ADU for $1,500 or $2,000, does that raise the price of the property by $150,000?
It won't. No. If it's inside, you like in the basement type thing.
Like
On top of the garage.
yeah, like a garage.
But it's attached to the house.
No, unattached. That's like,
Unattached. Oh yeah. So it wouldn't raise it. What it's going to do is we're going to look for comparables to try to figure that out. But typically, what we do is we're going to take the rent and then we're going to look at what the debt cost or the mortgage cost is at that time, and then calculate what your annual savings are, and then we'll kind of increase it that way. But it's not automatic. It depends on the area, location, price points. But typically, like let's say if a house, I'm trying to think of simple math, with rates now, because rates are a lot different than they were. So let's say you can generate $2,000 a month in rent. That's going to be about $150,000 on the purchase price roughly right now. I think that's about right with rates. So, but no one's going to pay you that full amount. It's more kind of probably about half as much at that point because they're buying it. It's still inconvenience, so they still need to subsidize the mortgage cost. So, like in theory, let's say it's going to raise you about 50% of whatever the income would be because it allows people to reduce their costs, but they're not going to increase. They're still going to want to reduce their costs, not just pay the cost of the mortgage, if that makes sense, because it's an inconvenience at that point by having someone in the backyard. Now, what we would do though is if it was a city where properties are starting to get condoed off, because each city's starting to adapt that more and more, we're going to look at comps that will be similar. And if it's an area that doesn't have those, we're going to use townhomes, condos, and houses on small lots, small houses, and then we're going to blend them all into a value. That's what we did for ADUs for 3 years before they had a bunch of comparable data. So it's not automatic, but there's going to be, it depends on the location, price point, and then we have cost of housing, and then what's the legislation coming through.
Okay.
But you want to target areas that are adapting the condoing or that you can condo off because you can make so much more on those deals.
Okay, yeah, my thought process behind it was like, as an investor, if a property makes you $4,000 a month, usually they'll pay around $400,000 or more because of how much income they could get per month off the rent.
Yep.
That was my thought process behind that.
Yeah, the problem is you're going to be selling to consumers though, and consumers don't really think the same.
Okay.
And so what they're going to go, like when we market that, when we list properties and they have ADUs or mother-in-laws, we actually break that down in our listing of you can rent it out for this. This reduces your housing cost by 30% based on this rent income. And that means this is why we're priced a little bit heavier. And so we show them what their net effective rent, the mortgage payment is versus, typically if we're like, let's say we're priced $100,000 higher than everything else, the cost is going to be like a net effective improvement of $150,000 off their mortgage.
I understand.
And it's still a sale process though, because it's hard to articulate it to the buyer sometimes the brokers don't know as much. And so we just kind of spell it out in math as far as the savings go, but it's not gonna be automatic.
Okay.
But typically, with our team, we can dig pretty deep into comparables and find you a data point where we're going, hey, this is what you're gonna get out of it value-wise. But not right now for consumers. But if you're selling it to an investor, then yes, they'll look at that a little bit differently.
So I think also, I think you might be mistaken. ADU is an attached dwelling. DADU is saying it's detached. So if it's attached, you obviously can't condo. So if it's detached, you'll have more flexibility.
You can condo ADUs though.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
you
but
can.
one little sliver of wall in it,
Yeah,
and you're good.
but yeah, just the quality of how easy it's going to sell.
Do pretty much all the cities around here now allow condos? Or?
No, Kirkland does, Seattle does, Everett's
Everett.
adapting, Federal Way is adapting, Tacoma is supposed to be adapting. I don't think Renton is going to, from what I heard, but it's just kind of a series. Bellevue still isn't technically doing it. And so the key to that though, for like an investment standpoint, like right now in Tacoma, if you know it's coming in 12 to 24 months and you can get a cheap enough lot, you can build it and it's not gonna like the problem is with like building a dadu in Tacoma's tough, right? Because it costs you $300,000 to build it. So that means your mortgage cost is gonna be about $2,400-$2,500 a month on that. It's actually maybe even 26, 27 with rates where they're at. You're only gonna rent that for like 23. And so it mathematically doesn't make a whole lot of sense to build it. Now, if we saw the condoing coming off, then we'd want to look at, okay, what can we sell these for? The problem is too, in Tacoma, you can still buy like a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house that's fully renovated on its own lot for like $400 to $450. So the margin's not going to quite be there either. So we have to dig pretty deep. I would say we'd have to target like Gig Harbor, North Tacoma, but a lot of central Tacoma is not going to make too much sense. I don't really understand why people are building all these ADUs in Tacoma. Like mathematically, it doesn't make any sense. Now, when rates come down to 5, it will make sense, but that could be 12.
That's about 2028.
Yeah, now they're predicting the end of next year. They're saying high 5s, but I think it's going to be low bit or
So,
low
If you
6s.
sell the DADU, then it may make sense, or no?
Well, it's still hard though, because if you can only sell it, let's say you can sell it for $450, and then you buy it for you're into it $350.
Yeah.
Then minus your cost of that, you're gonna do a lot of work for it. You might as well flip a condo.
It's not
It's just-
worth the effort.
No, not yet, but it will eventually. So, or building costs continue to drop a little bit, and you get them built for like $250. That's gonna be kind of the magic number. I know Tacoma builders right now are really trying to get their pricing down because they had this surge of building them. I don't think very many people are wanting to build them anymore. And so guys that were building for like 325 to 350 are down to like 290. They're trying to get down to like 260. And then in Seattle, you almost want to build them a little bit more expensive now, 350 to 400, because the resales are hitting 800. But you got to have a really good product. And so for us, when we're targeting dadus, and we're going to have some really cool presentations coming up the first of the year. We're always going to have our investor 101, but we're going to have like an intro to dadu investing, intro to Burr, which is a 30-minute webinar. You guys can sign on and we're going to walk you through the basics of the analytics. We target only high selling neighborhoods like White Center. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to build a dadu right now because they're only going to sell for $450,000 and you're into it 350 to 400. There's just no margin. And so it's really area specific. Like Kirkland's really good. They're hitting 1.6 to 1.7 now. And so
Wait, 161.7 for just the dadu?
yes, and they got to be bigger. They're going to be ones that are 1-car garages, 1,700 square feet.
1,700 square foot.
They're like more cottages, but we're permitting 3 right now, and then we had comps at 155 a year ago. Now they're up to 175, even with higher rates. They're selling really well, but it just kind of depends on what the product is. It was good because 155 wasn't looking very good for us. So now we're like, oh, good, we got one in the green now. Yeah, that was one we actually took all the way through permit for a single family house. And then the comps dropped and we go, so we renegotiated the seller. They let us extend the closing for another year. And we've been paying them $7,000 a month against the principal. And we just re-permitted 3 cottages now instead to build those. So, but if you want to build ADUs right now, you want to build them in good neighborhoods. You want North Seattle, Central Seattle, West Seattle works well, Kirkland. Outside of that, I wouldn't, it's not worth the headache and the effort. Not unless you can cut your build costs way, way down.
And the build cost when you're saying 350, 400, are these for like 1,000 square foot?
Yeah, that's gonna be for about, that will get you like a 1-car garage, 1,100 square foot DADU, which is a 2-bed, 2.5 bath. And that's good product. That's what you can get. People are making mistakes right now because they're building them in lots that aren't that great. So what you want for that is you want a corner lot or one with a nice driveway access. You want a little bit of a yard and a garage. If you have that, you're gonna sell that for about $150,000 more than you would for one that has no yard and no garage and it's kind of in a weird tight area. So and it still costs you the exact same to build that. And so they're kind of forcing this into a neighborhood that doesn't make sense. And so it's really about, it's better to buy a more expensive spot because it's trading so much better. Even in like Crown Hill, they're selling for $800 now again. Like they are selling really well, but it's got to be the right product. That's for sure. So on, bud.
Yeah, sure.
Good. We're just going down a EADU tangent. We had a little bit of smaller group in here tonight because we had a mix up on dates where people came last week and this week. Did you show up last week? Sorry about that. Is it technology? But yeah, you guys, if you have these questions, feel free to ask them too. We don't dig too much into that. Going forward, we have a new presentation that's launching at the first of the year. That's where we are covering some just more investment classes. But the DADU it's a big deal. So, but at the end of the day, it's still going to cost you about the same to build them. So build them in the best neighborhood. They're just going to sell for more. And the variance doesn't really matter. But and you guys, we do sell a lot. Vlad's sold a few. We got 2 we're working right now. I was just at 2 earlier today. Nice houses, 2,300 square foot houses in the front, 7,000 square foot lots. So they have big yards. The place is really overgrown. But you can put 2 big DADUs, and I think you should do 2-car garages on these ones because it doesn't cost very much more to build them. You're essentially getting a 4,000 square foot lot on the back with a 2-car garage, 1,200 square feet. It's really good resale product. And those should hit like 800 each. And so we're trying to get, the margins are really good on those, especially if you're buying one where you're fixing, it's a major fixture on the house. The ones that aren't that big of fixtures on the front, the deals are okay. But if you're buying the big fixtures, the margins are good because you're usually getting the dirt for free because you're buying the house right. So those are the best ones to target. And as you build your teams, you want to talk to especially the contractors that can do both, renovate and if not, we'll help you with the renovation, get the developer on the back, and then you do them simultaneously. And it's still going to take you 9 months to do it for the back anyways, with permits and build 9 to 12 months. So you might as well go buy the big fixer. I don't understand why people are buying the cosmetic. I'm like, just get the big ones. The discounts are so much better.
So now when you say a big fixer, how do you define that?
Like full studs down, electrical, plumbing,
Leaking,
reframing.
everything leaking. Kind of.
Maybe leaking, but yeah, everything needs like what kind of 1920s, 1940s, the older kind of layouts that we need to reframe and put back together. So like the ones I was at today they're pretty hammered, but there will be in the 570 range, and they're and the house is worth 950 in the front. It needs probably 250, and then you're gonna put a daddy in the back for 350 to maybe there's some trees and stuff that need to be cleared out. Say 400 in the back. That's worth 800, solid 800 in the back, and 900. So you're into it. 575, and the value is going to be 1.7.
Yeah.
And so the margin is really big. The house it looks hammered. And then the guy who's inside, he's a little bit nutty, so I couldn't go inside. But we'll see.
So the 8 months, including getting the permits and building, or like?
So DADUs, the permits have been getting issued. Typically, it's about 4 months. They've been getting issued in 2 to 3 months right now.
Okay.
City of Seattle has done a really good job getting the permit timelines done. City of Bellevue has not been so good, but City of Seattle has really improved. So typically, it's going to take you about 6 months to build it, 5 to 6 to build, 2 to 4 months to permit it.
I see.
And then it depends also if you're using an approved plan,
Approved plan, yeah. I was
which
about
most
to
people
ask
are
you
going
about-
with.
Yeah, yeah.
We actually design every one of ours, but we're going for like a little bit higher.
That will take a little bit more time. That's
Yeah, adds probably another 2 months to your permit.
2 months.
So,
But probably it's still worth it. You get a much better product and much bigger money. So,
you know, now, yes, at first, and now I'm like seeing some of this stuff, so I'm like, maybe the standardized plan's fine now. But for a while, like to hit 750 to 800, you had to have a pretty special product where you have like vaulted ceilings, good window schedules, all these things. And now it's like, as long as you have the 2-bed, 2.5 bath in a yard and a garage,
Square foot.
they're totally cool with it. So, like if I had to go permit one right now, I would probably just do a standard. But some of the other ones we've done too, now I'm starting to go down a major tangent. We're designing a house, an ADU and a DADU. So we want it to be cohesive on the plan. So on a 5,000 square foot lot, you can knock a house down, build like a 2,200 to 2,700 square foot house. You build a 1,000 square foot ADU that you attach with one little wall, and then that gets sold. And then the DADU is in the back. And so if we use a standardized plan, we already have to permit the whole site anyways, and then you have this weird thing on the back, and so we want it to be cohesive. So it's matching the front and they're all three have the same style. So that's why we design a lot of ours. And that's the margin on those deals are really good for developing. Scrapping a house and building a house now doesn't really make sense anymore in Seattle. There's almost none of that going on anymore. It's all these, they call them 3-packs. So, because you just get so much more value. Density is where your values are. The more you can put on your property, and you look at it this way, price per square foot to build this stuff's $350 a foot roughly, bigger house about $300. But the smaller the house, the higher the price per square foot. So your margin goes up dramatically. So builders are always trying to build the smallest product they can get away with because their exit price goes up and their build cost really remains very similar. And so, and then the more density you have, the more square footage you can build. So your price per square foot goes up and you're getting more square footage across. So it just maximizes the deal.
so you can do 3-packs even in the single family zone.
Yep, SF 5,000, you can build 3 houses on it. That's what we're building. We're building 18 right now. We're across 9 sites, or no, across 6 sites. So, and they're good. Those permits are fast too. They're 6 months rather than 12 months with townhomes. So it's an expedited permit that way too. If you guys get into building, you should definitely look in that.
Oh, yeah.
I always think those are the best margin deals in the right now for sure. In the major fixer with the DADUs in the back.
So when you say 3-pack, one DADU, one ADU, and then the primary.
Yeah, you get a primary, and then you build an ADU
Mhm.
and attach it, and then you build the DADU. We're doing a site right now where we actually had a house all in front, 900 square feet up, 900 square feet in the basement. We permitted a single family house behind it, attached it with one wall. So the renovation is the ADU,
Oh, okay.
building a DADU over here. And then our ADU is gonna be the biggest ADU in the city because it's actually 1,800 square feet. So we're gonna have a 900 square foot ADU with a 900 square foot basement that's like polished concrete for its industrial feel. And so you can slice these deals up any which way now. But it's a size of lot, access and coverage, because you don't want to build this stuff on anything. So, because like if your units are in the back and you have no access, they sell for very little.
Yeah.
So
what is the reason for having an ADU like this connected by small wall instead of like building 2 DADUs? There any?
it's what it allows for permit wise.
Permit,
So,
like, okay.
on
You can only
SF
build one
5,000.
ADU and then one DADU.
Yeah, you're allowed to have an ADU and a DADU.
Okay.
And so basically it's a cheat code for developers. What it was intended to be was one big house with your separate ADU in the basement that you're gonna rent out, sell that, and then you have dad in the back. We all took that and go, okay, well, if we attach one wall, now we have 3 structures and we can sell them separately, because no one's gonna buy your basement.
Yeah. makes sense.
So
How does financing work for this?
for that right there, so typically we're going in, we're getting a close-on permit on that. And then we go, so commercial banks, so you wanna go like First Savings, National Bank, portfolio lenders, they're gonna give you 80% of project cost.
Okay.
And so let's say you're buying it for 500 grand, it's $1.5 million to build. They're gonna finance you. You go with 20% in, and the rate on that's gonna be about 9.5 and 1 point for a year loan. And then they're also gonna give you a 12-month interest reserve though, so you don't need to make a payment for 12 months.
Oh, okay.
And so you wanna go to like a localized bank for that though. And so I would say First Savings National Bank, First Security Net Bank. Those are probably your best two financiers in that right now. And then build the relationship. So if you want financing on that too, guys, move some deposits over. You want to start the business relationship. But they First Security and First Financial finance all of our projects on that stuff. And they're pretty good and aggressive. Sometimes they've done it at 10% down. So it's not
10% of the like 1.5.
Yeah, so they're financing 90% of the
I see.
land and build cost.
And is that because of your relationship or because of the deal?
Both. We've done like 30, 40 loans with them. We have money sitting there with them. It was also time of market. That was like the last loan we did was like right before rates. So they're a little bit more strict on that right now. But I mean, for a while, it's like, we switched 150 grand down on this site. And we don't have to make a payment for a year. And the margins are 500. It was just kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, all about debt. So all good questions. They're not even in our classes tonight. So so we're gonna run you through the presentation. We'll kind of try to streamline it. The purpose of the presentation, guys, is just to walk you guys through how we do business, how we underwrite deals. We underwrite things to the exact same principles that we do everything. So we're running financial performance. We're looking at what the highest and best use of a property is, whether it's a rental property, flip, BRRRR, ADU, development. That is what we do is we underwrite and look at investments, take it to highest and best use, present it to our clients. We're going to talk about how we do that. And then again, you guys, 2024, we have a ton of different stuff coming out to where we're going to have there's always going to be this class, but there's 4 virtual ones that we go in all the time. Like basically like a one-on-one on ADU investing, BRRRR investing, apartment, like large apartment renovations. So you guys can just go in, this is how you analyze it, this is how you budget for it, this is how you finance it. And then from there, we'll set up the one-on-ones and bring you guys in to kind of figure out where your guys' goals are. And then all these questions to you guys, as you have them afterwards, we're gonna go through this presentation, we'll answer questions to the end, but then we wanna set a one-on-one time with you to figure out where you're at in your investing, what do we need to do to kind of put you to your next goal, or if you're interested in ADU investing, how do we get your team put together so you're looking at the right deals, analyze them, and then you can execute on them. Because the margins are good, but you gotta know how to do them, or then it can get squirrely. So quick background, you guys, on who we are. So this is my business partner. So me and Will we've been partners now for nearly 20 years. So we started banging doors together in 2005, finding off-market deals, contracting them for an investment company. They would buy them. And then we got really, really good at finding off-market deals. Then 2008 came along, flatlined the whole market, and then we became really good at flipping because we would find good deals, but no one would want to buy them. So we had to learn on how to finance them because there was no money out, get the money put together, get them renovated, and then sell them. And then that's how we've started all these businesses over the years, is by basically copying our business plan and then offering it to consumers, teaching them how to do it, and getting them to be successful. So everything we sell is stuff that we do. We don't sell anything out of here that we don't do. If we don't know it, we don't sell it. And so that's really important to us. So background on how this works, how we divide things is Will runs more of our multifamily and residential companies. So he does all of our apartment syndications. He manages all our rentals, which is great because I hate managing rentals. And then he also runs Intrust funding as far as like the general underwriting and final call on what loan terms are going to be. I run more of the brokerage, the off market, and our flipping businesses, also along with our educational courses. So I'm more of the face of the brokerage, the team, and we're going to talk a lot about Heaton Dainard right now and how we've kind of grown the businesses. So we have a very divide and conquer business strategy. He runs his set of businesses, I run mine. We check in with each other. But things to know, like Intrust Funding, Heaton Dainard, yes, we own them together. They are separate companies though. So for some reason, if you are out here, you come in, you meet with Heaton Dainard, and then you find a deal elsewhere, Intrust Funding will finance you there. They're not one and the same. And so they're independent companies, but their services for investors. So how we started is, in 2008, we really started, it was an issue because there was deals everywhere. We were getting properties for nothing, but no one would buy them. And what was happening was people were just too freaked out. There was too much like whiplash from real estate and no one would touch it. And so we started buying and selling a lot of properties at this time. We saw a lot of opportunity. We had just stuck all of our money into our business, so we didn't really have a choice and kind of had to figure it out. And so we started buying a lot of properties and systemizing renovations. From there in 2009 and 10, we're getting all these deals and people are interested in real estate again, but they were too freaked out. And so what we did is we started offering these services we're going to talk to other investors to help them mitigate risk and get them through the process. That's how we started Heaton Dainard Real Estate. The only reason that we actually started Heaton Dainard Real Estate was to help sell our off-market deals. And part of the real estate service was to walk people through the transaction so they could be protected in the deal. Because it wasn't about buying it. They were like, I just don't know how to renovate it. I don't know what to do. And so we systemized what we did and taught people how to renovate properties to highest and best use, how to stay on a budget, and how to get them designed right to sell them for the best possible pricing. Because also in 2009 and 10, the average market time was like 180 to 250 days for a house. We were selling all ours at under 30. And so we came up with this kind of magic recipe on how to get property moved. When we would go list one of our flips, there'd be like 300 homes in a mile radius for sale. And we'd be that magical house that got picked out. And so that's what people started noticing, that they wanted to learn. And then that's how we started the business. And so since starting Heaton Dainard, we've closed over 3,500 properties to investors just like yourselves. This is all we do. We don't sell, we don't do traditional real estate. We're meeting with either investors or people that are in their investing career and they want to take their primary residence. We're all investment related, whether it's a primary residence, development, fix and flip. It is what we do. So since 2010, we've also sold over $1 billion in real estate transactions to investors just like yourself. And then our team has helped designed and sold over 1,500 homes for investors. And we'll kind of go into those services shortly. So what we do at the brokers, though, is we source properties on and off market. We analyze those properties to highest and best use. And then we put together a full plan for our clients to take it highest best use and then help them execute through. Now, we don't do it for them, but we are there to advise and assist them all the way through to where they can get out and maximize out the deal. Services that we offer is acquisition and purchasing. We lock up properties. We're different than most real estate brokerages. Typically, if you go into Windermere, they're going to come in, you're going to go, hey, I'm looking for some properties. They're going to put you on an auto email. They're going to say, hey, what do you think of this house? What do you think of this house? This looks like a good deal. We're going to do the same thing, except for we're going to fully underwrite it before we send it to you too. Why is it a good deal? We're always going to tell you the why. This is what you can buy it for. This is what you need to renovate. This is what you need to do. And this is what you should be able to sell it based on the data that we provided at that point. So we handle sourcing the deal, we underwrite the highest and best use, and then once you purchase the property, then we have a client service manager that will break in that is going to get you contractors referrals. Because as a brokerage, we know that our clients need to be successful for us to be successful. The way that you are successful is minimizing costs so you can actually make profit. Because I think we all know this is not art for us. Like, we like housing, we want to have fun with it, but we're here to make money. And so unlike most brokers, like if you go to Windermere, they're going to say, hey, here's a list of referral people, call them, hire them. They're not going to help you with the pricing. They're just say, we vetted these people, buyer beware, call them. We are going to be sourcing people that can help you with any step of the process, whether it's plumbers, electricians, general contractors. We're here to help you guys be successful. Every dollar you save goes back in your pocket. That also helps us protect our commissions when we go sell your property later. In addition to our services, we're going to give you financing referrals. That's going to be Intrust funding, our built-in hard money lender that has already approved every deal that we put out, and they're ready to finance it. We're also going to get you over referrals that we work with. Now, none of these mortgage professionals or people we refer out pay us any kind of referral or any kind of marketing. We are referring them out because they know how to take care of investors just like you to get you in and out of the deals or get you the right debt. There's countless amounts of mortgage brokers out there that will say, I can get the loan done, but they can't. And so what we've done is we've vetted the right people, and we're constantly bringing in new banks to get in front of our clients so they can get the best leverage. Like First Savings National Bank, getting your debt set up for that building. That's what we're gonna get you in touch with any kind of banker that you need. Or if you're buying a house hack or a primary residence, we have another team that specializes in that. And so debt is huge for buying and selling real estate. And so we'll be helping you with that. And then all of our design services are included with our listing fee. So not only are we going to find you the deal, underwrite it, get you some referrals from contractors, line you up the debt to do it. Our listing team's going to help you design it all the way through if you need that. So getting started. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the basics, and then we're going to dive into a deal, how we underwrite it, how we analyze it, and the services that come along with that. But before we get started, the first thing we want to do, and I know some of the guys are in Project RE, is you got to build your team. So no matter what you're doing today, we're here to get you guys referrals, but at the end of the day, you're building a business right now. It's an investment business that you want. Like, who's doing this for the short term? I mean, I think we're all doing this for the long term, right? We want financial freedom. We want to be able to make my own construction business, to build ADUs for clients and themselves. I know you want passive income and you want to grow with flipping properties, growing, and then get into passive, live off the passive income. So you guys, this is a long-term business that we're building. And a lot of people skip this. They're like, oh, I'm just going to go buy real estate and I'm going to go make money. But it's still a business, and you got to run it like a business. So just like any other business, I couldn't be dependent on 100% referrals. I got to go find people to make my business run well. If I only get referrals and I'm only getting that, I'm going to have slower growth. So if you guys want to grow quicker, we're going to get you referrals, but you also want to be building your own team, because the people that we might refer out, you might not like them, or they could be busy, or they might not fit for the project that you have or what your goals are. And so you want to start building yours as well. So to get your team going, we say you should have 2 reliable general contractors. Start going out, going to meetup groups, talking to other investors, who's had good relationships, who's had good referrals. Start meeting with those people before you even buy. Then you need to get 2 reliable subcontractors, you guys, because your general contractors, you have to price out regularly. Perfect world, we find a project, we bring a general out, we give them the full scope, they do the work, we manage them, project's done. Problem is that never happens that way, and they're always over budget, or their bids are a little bit too high. And so by having 2 reliable subcontractors is we can look at things and go, hey dude, we understand, you got us bid, we like your bid, we like 90% of it, but we're gonna take care of the roof ourselves, we're gonna take care of the appliances ourselves, we're gonna take care of the painting ourselves, or whatever it is, because we can go through the line item and go, this cost is way higher than my other subcontractors, and we can plug those in and get our costs down right. The day we're giving them the job, we're already saving money by pulling some things away. So the more resources you have and subcontractors you have, the cheaper you can get things done. The cheaper you can get things done, the more revenue you're going to make on a project. And so start working on building those subcontractors out. You need to have a hard money lender. You got to be able to fund your deal if the perfect deal comes across your plate. There's nothing worse than not being prepared for you have home run in front of you, because a home run's only going to be there for about maybe an hour at the long time. Sometimes it's 5 minutes. And if you're not ready to go too close, you can't say yes, someone else takes it, and you're watching someone else make money because you weren't prepared. So get yourself lined up with a hard money lender. Intrust funding can do that. And then you always should have a conventional and a commercial lender too, because this is an exit plan for you. If you want to do buy and hold properties, you need to have permanent financing. Hard money's for bridging. This is for your permanent. If you want to start building ADUs, hard money is not the way to go. It's may go for half the transaction, but you want to use cheaper debt with commercial financing. If you have a flip property that's not going well, and you decide to wait out the market for 12 months, you want to make sure that you can refinance out of that for a minute, get through the market, and then kind of push through. So really start building your team. Part of that, you guys, is we're going to talk to you guys a lot once you come in for your one-on-one and how to get your pre-qualification. You don't want to miss that good deal. So how you do that, you get lined up with money, you're going to make a quick decision. We're going to get you set up with takedown financing, which is interest funding, and then you want to make sure that you're getting permanently financed as well, pre-approved. The reason a lot of people skip this because like, I only want to flip properties, but Kyle will attest for this. when he comes up to talks, you're gonna have access to better leverage with hard money if you're fully pre-qualified with a loan. Because as a hard money lender, I might lend you even more money if I know that you can refinance me at any given time. And so by getting your permanent financing, you're gonna get more access to other capital as well. So make sure that you kind of get the right referral. We have a lot of referrals to you guys and get that pre-qualified done. So if you start building your team, we're gonna help you find that deal. So for fix and flip, how we have it set up at our business is we have core teams that are isolated to help our clients go to highest and best use. Unlike most brokerages, like again, if you go to Windermere, and I'm not saying, the reason I'm saying Windermere so much is because they're the biggest brand. They got a great brand, but they don't do what we do. If you go in there, they're gonna see you drop your name at the front desk. They're gonna refer you to a broker, and that is your broker for life, as long as you guys click at that point. But they're supposed to be handling your purchasing, your selling, your sourcing of properties. Maybe you want to buy in different locations, right? They're going to need to know everything at that point, which means they're really not, like, even for me as a broker, I can't handle every type of service that a client needs. They're specialists for certain things. So what we've done is we compartmentalized our team so you're working with a specialist the whole way through. So how our teams are broken up is we have an acquisition team. So we have 4 brokers on there. There's actually 2 more coming on right now. And they're really broken into territories and area location. Now, many of them do float in between, but if you look at like John Whitney's been a broker of ours for 12 years. He works South King County and the East Side. He knows South King County and the East Side like the back of his hand. He knows the streets. He knows the values. He knows what areas are good, what areas aren't good. By him knowing the area so well, it helps us get deals locked down faster because we can identify it a lot quicker. In addition to, we can analyze the property correctly to where you're going into it because he knows the area, he knows the pros, he knows the cons, he knows when to push, when not to push. So when you're working with the acquisition team, you're working with not only just specialists, you're not working with just one broker, you're working with specialists for areas and price points and different types of clients. So you might come in and work with a couple different brokers because they work 2 different areas. Vlad works Seattle. And so that is his specialty, North King and Seattle. So as you come in, you might be looking in South King and Seattle. You're gonna be working on 2 different brokers because we want the broker that understands the market the best, not just the clients. Us understanding the market is gonna protect you more than hearing every little need that you want. We want you guys to make sure the math's right. And so that's why we have it broken down that way. In addition to, on our flip team, we have lots of support staff to help you guys all the way through. So we have 2 full-time transaction coordinators to help you with your purchase documents, the closing documents, our referrals after the close. And then we have a full-time listing assistant too that's here to help you with referrals, get you cabinet quotes, flooring quotes, and to get you different things. Grace works with our listing team where we have 4 different listing brokers. They have been design trained. They have worked on each one of them has worked on a flip property of mine. They've gone through, they're way different than any other listing broker that you're going to meet. They're not just putting signs in the yard. They're not just marketing. They're not taking calls. They're working with you from the day you purchase all the way to the closing. So it's a lot different than a traditional listing team. They're going to help you with paint colors, flooring colors, tile design, appliance referrals. They're here to help make sure that you know how to design the property so it gets highest and best use, but also to do it on a budget. Because it's really easy to make a property look good, but you can blow your budget really fast. And so they are, trust me, they have been thoroughly trained by me because they'll bring me back specs. I'm like, no, I like it, just find it for half off. And that's how they went. Like Megan was my personal assistant for 2 years and she'd be like, I found this. I'm like, cool. So get the half off. It was always get it cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. And what it did is it drilled into our brain that we can always find it cheaper because you can. And those are the people that you want as you're selling your property. And not only does it help you with the budgeting and the design, when they go selling the property, they're also emotionally invested in this property. They've put their sweat into that thing. They understand why it's designed that way, why it flows that way. The more your broker knows about your product, the higher price that you're going to get. And so it's a full service listing commission from A to Z. And then our secret sauce for all our client is our client service manager. That's Ryan. So he is not a project manager, but he is here to help you from soon as you buy to when you close for contractor referrals, if you're having issues with the general contractor, if your subcontractor price is coming in too high, if you have a change order and you open up the wall and your general contractor is saying, hey, it's $10,000 to put this beam in. You're gonna call Ryan, he's gonna come out there with your listing broker, he's gonna say, this should not be 10,000, this should be 4,000, we'll get you some other quotes or get the general contractor down. So he's your extra pair of eyes to help you control your costs, because you guys, as you rip through houses, you don't know until you know. Like the reason we know so much about construction is because we've lost a lot of money on construction. And so that's what Ryan's been, he's worked with us for 15 years now. He's seen all sorts of different things. He's there to put a pair of eyes on it, give you guys recommendations to help you control your costs. So our Heaton Dainard advantage is our goal is to provide you with the tools you need to be successful and extensive resources to guide you from start to finish, and it's up to you to execute. So we are set up to find you the deal, help you underwrite it, line you up with the financing. We're gonna get you contractor referrals. We're gonna help you with the design, but it's your job to make it all put together. So we're here for you on the sidelines, and we'll be on the field with you at times, but it's your job to take it through. We are not here to run your whole project. That's for syndicating. If you want to do that, you have to invest in our deals. But by doing this, it really helps you guys mitigate the risk. So what's the other advantages that we have is on our acquisition. So again, most brokers are going to send you out a listing and say, hey, let's go look at it. We'll see what it gets bid up to, and then we'll get you an offer. Anything that we present you guys, unless it's a rental property that we're trying to source specifically, is going to be an actual opportunity. We've contracted the property. We've already ran highest and best use. We know what the financial performance is on it, and we know that it's a good deal. The reason we know it's a good deal is my money is on every one of these as earnest money. So we're putting up real money to secure these things just to get it to our clients. So everything is already secured. The pricing is fixed. It doesn't go up. It doesn't go down. Because we know that that works for what investors are buying at in the math behind it. In addition to when we send you a property, we're going to give you a full financial analysis, walkthrough notes, deal pro forma, exit strategy plans, and a CMA. So we're going to have you a full package so you can really understand it, not just sending you a property and another one saying, yes, look, this one sold for this. You can buy this for this. We're going to show you how to get there. Our listing team advantage is their design and budgeted training. We've talked a lot about this. They know how to source cabinets, design it, help you through the process. In addition to, they're going to give you up-to-date market updates, not only when you're on market, but the whole way through your project. So the day you buy, they're going to be checking the values. You know, we may say, hey, this house is worth 500 grand as a 3-bed, 1-bath property, and then 4 weeks in, a new comp pops up, and it's a 4-bed, 2-bath property, and now it's worth 599. They're going to call you and say, hey, let's go revisit this house. Should we add in another bathroom? Does it make sense? Can you make more money? So they're going to keep you in tune with what the market's doing. They can do monthly and weekly job site walks with you. So your listing broker, the day you buy, can meet you there every week, every month, however you need them. They will walk that property with you. If you're reconfiguring the house, I highly advise you bring them out. They understand flow. They understand budgets. You know, the more you have them in, the better your house is going to be marketable. In addition to, you have our client service manager that we talked about with Ryan, and then they will always be providing you with CMAs and comparables. So we talked about why our team's so awesome. We're going to break down how do we send out deals and how do we analyze them. Nuts and bolts. I always say nuts and potatoes. I don't know why.
You're hungry.
Yeah, I think that might be it. So you guys, this is typically, you know, after you kind of go through this presentation, because we're not going to bug you and harass you. It's going to be, you're going to fill out your questionnaire. Do you want to do business with us or not? And then if you want to do business, we're going to get you in for a one-on-one, and we really want to identify what your buy box is and what your timelines is and how do we get there with steps. Once you do that, then you're going to start getting opportunities like this from us. And they're either going to come to you in like a fancy format like this, or it's just going to be an Outlook with the same exact information on there. So generally when you get this email, the first thing is going to be just like a rough synopsis of what the property is. Like this property was in North Tacoma. It's got a great craftsman street next to good schools, or, you know, whatever the details of the location will be in there. Now, the more important stuff is in this section. So in the email, you're going to get, there'll be a click to photos that we'll go into, and then it's going to give you the breakdown, which is you can buy this property for $410,000. This covers all costs except for your side of the buyer's closing costs, which is gonna be your lender's coverage and your title and escrow fees. The reason we don't add those in is half of our clients pay cash, half pay with a loan. We don't know if they're getting a lender's cover policy. So that's gonna be within $2,500 roughly of your cost. We're gonna have an estimated fix up in here, an ARV of what we think it's worth after you fix it, and then estimated profit. This is just your snapshot. The reason we put this here is so you can look at that and go, yeah, that looks about the numbers I wanna do. Let's go in deeper. Then we're gonna have a link to a pro forma that we're gonna click on, and then it's gonna give you a bullet point again. So this whole point of this email is here's the price, here's the metrics, here's what you need to do to it in a rough bullet point, and then here's the comps that we're using. So you can look real quick and go, do I wanna investigate this more? If you like all the numbers on here, then you'll start clicking through, and the first thing will be a link to photos. So typically, there's gonna be anywhere between 40 and 100 photos in this gallery. The worse the property, the more photos there will be. Our job as brokers is to make sure that we are not wasting your time. We will over disclose these properties up front because the last thing we want you to do is jump in a car at 4 o'clock, drive to Tacoma and sit in 2 hours of traffic just to get there and be like, this is not what I thought it was. And so we're gonna, get you everything that you need. So as you go through these photos, you can kind of take a look. So this property was like grandma's house. It was just an old house and needed a lot of updating, but it was clean, right? Wasn't in terrible shape. We definitely buy a lot worse than this. And really, it could be buffed up and rented out if you wanted. Not totally great. Rents might be a little low. Floors a little gross, but overall not that bad. So after you go through these photos, you're going, okay, this looks like a scope of work that my guys could work on. I kind of like the house. I like the flow. The good thing about this house is the basement was fully rewired. Basically, 30% of the house was up to new code. Look at it. And you go, okay, well, the photos look good. It looks interesting. Then the next thing you're going to click on is going to be your financial pro forma. Now, how we have this set up, and you guys going into 2024, it's going to be a little bit different. We used to have it set up, or we do, with 3 different scenarios. One is for a hard money loan where you're just putting down 20% and then you're paying for the rehab out of pocket. Almost nobody does this loan. And the reason being is because as investors, we use leverage, right? We want the highest possible cash on cash return. Typically what investors are going to do is they're going to do a construction loan. That's where they're buying the property. They're going to have their construction loan on top. They're going to roll that into the loan. Their down payment, instead of being 20% down and funding it out of their own pocket, they're just going to put 20% down of the total project. And then that's going to finance them back all their construction costs. And so that's what that performance is going to run. And then Kyle will run those metrics when he talks about interest funding. And then this is going to be the cash performance. If you're not using any leverage and you're just paying cash. So how this pro forma works is the purchase price is in here. Then we have our fix up entered here, the estimated ARV, and then right here is important. It says estimated hold times, 9 months. That's what we're predicting based on historicals that you're going to have this house for. Typically, with our average flip, the average turn time on it is about 5.5 to 6.1 months. That's going to be for your split level, your Rambler, your 1960s or newer house. That's about when our clients turn in from start to finish. Ones that require more permits, plumbing, electrical, that's typically where we're going to raise that to 9 months to give you 3 months of buffer for the permitting. And if it's a full studs down, it's going to go 10 to 12 months. Okay, we do that all based on historical numbers. The reason why that's so important is the calculator is also going to cue what your cost of hard money is based on your hold times. In addition to, we target certain returns for our clients that we want to make sure they're hitting annualized. The longer you have the deal, the better return you need it to be. We're typically targeting 60 to 70% annual returns, which is going to be about a 30 to 35% return on a 5 to 6 month deal. So based on the longer the deal, the better the margin. So on this property, client paid $410, they put $131 in, total project cost at $541, $2,500 for just miscellaneous, utilities, taxes, insurance, those kind of things. Selling costs, then there's our value at $699. We're going to back out real estate commissions, excise tax, title escrows. At the end of this project, the client was going to make $100,000, which was going to be an 18.5% return in a 9 month period. Now with leverage, the reason why people use leverage, and Kyle will talk about this more, the issue with this is the client has to come with $543,000 out of pocket on this deal. With Intrust Funding's construction loan, they're bringing in 20%, they're covering their debt costs, you know, they gotta make their monthly interest payment, but then all the rehab is being rolled back into the deal. And so now the client only has to come up with $175,000 to do
That
this
one's
deal.
shown at 25, so it's a little bit less.
Was this one actually at 25?
I don't know, I mean,
Yeah, it's actually.
I think it is, so it'd be like 150-ish.
Okay, 150.
Give or take, I'm just quick math.
So 25% of 700?
Yeah, so what their product is 20% of the total project costs. So
Okay.
purchase price plus rehab, you come in with 20% of the total, and then they're gonna finance you back the construction on that. So
I see.
let's say you're buying it for 75,000, you're putting 25,000 into the construction, 20% down would be 20 grand down, and they're gonna give you 25,000 back in construction costs. And so what this does is this calculator, guys, is gonna run you through your metrics based on your financing. It's gonna calculate your points, your interest, your debt costs. It's gonna back that all down. And as you can see, the return went from 100 grand to 50. But the difference is you weren't coming up with 550, you're coming up with 175. And the client's now making at 20%, they're making about a 32 to 34% return rather than 18. The point of leverage is to maximize your velocity on money. You know, the least you have to put in, the higher you can get out, the higher return you can make. As investors, and this is how we grew, you know, if I'm sitting on 550 grand and I need 175 for this, I can do almost 3 deals of these.
Yeah.
So I can make 50% more in the same time frame by levering correctly. I don't personally worry about leverage costs. The first house I ever bought was at 14% interest and 3 points, and it was hard money, and I didn't even know what I was signing. So I was like, okay, this is what it costs to buy a house. But at the end of the day, I made 40 grand on the house. You know, I was 23 years old, and that's all I cared about. It wasn't the cost of money. Cost of money is just an opportunity cost. And so what the point of this performer, though, is it's gonna walk you through all the scenarios. Starting 2024, though, it's gonna have one box. You're gonna put in what your down payment is, what your rehab is, what your interest in the rate is, so you can play with it yourself. And then it will kick it out, so you don't have these 3 scenarios. You can make it all yourself. And that will start in 2024. We're gonna update and everything. So once you go through the performer and you go, hey, I like them. Yep.
So how does it work with buy and hold? This assumes that there is an exit plan and you can't sell it.
I'll show
Let's say
you
if you
I'll
want-
show you in the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, different performer, though, for sure. So once you go through the performer, you say, hey, I like the property, I see the photos, I like the metrics. Then we're gonna go over the design book. We test that, how we think you should design it. You're gonna get full pictures, what it needs to look like. Because we have 12 different design versions, and then our brokers modify them for you per project. We have it broken down by traditional, craftsman, modern, farmhouse. The reason we have 12 different styles is like for mid-century modern. We actually have one for a higher end where we're giving you a lot bigger allowances, bigger, you know, higher tile, appliances, cabinets. And we also have a budget one where they're using vinyl, they're painting cabinets, because you can do a theme on any budget. And so we have different spec books for different areas, different budgets at that point. That comes with paint colors, handles, tiles, all those things in there. And then the brokers are going to help customize that for you throughout your project. Once you go through the design, you say, yes, I like the design, I like the house. Then you're going to go into the budget, because that's the biggest qualm. Who gets off-market deals emailed to them on the regular? They throw these rehab numbers on, and you're like, how did you come up with that number? Like, oh, it needs 50 grand. I'm like, that needs 150. It's like, you know, they just throw a number on it. It's not because they don't know, they're just ballparking it. They want to make their deal work, right? So how we break down our budgets, we use an actual construction calculator based on historicals. So how we break it down is it's a rough calculation of costs. Budgets are based on historical rates. Budgets, they're broken down into allowances and install rates. That's how we come up with our numbers. We try to use logic behind everything that we do. Based on this, investors then should take this kind of logic and change it whatever which way they want. Raj, you know Raj, he's in our class. Do you know Raj?
Yes.
So Raj is really good at getting rehabs done for less. We had a budget for 120, he's doing it for 90. So he's stoked. Some of our clients are the opposite. They're at 120, or we're at 120, and they think it's gonna be 150, depending on the contract that they bring in.
During the design, they go for higher end?
It's about how they implement the plan.
I see.
Like Raj has got his hands on everything. He's down there every, 5 to 9 p.m. He's out there working. He's bringing in so he's just working on getting his costs down.
I see.
And the guys he sourced, his team he built, they're just cheaper guys and they're good for a certain type of product. I would not have them renovate certain types of houses, but they're good for what he's doing.
Okay.
My contractors right now, because I've been doing all higher end stuff, if I went down to Raj's house, I'm going to be 130 because it's just the guys that I hire on my team. And so that's why it's really important, guys, to always be building your bench up because you need guys for different types.
Mhm.
So the investor should always kind of look at this budget and then adjust it quarterly and then verify their own costs. So the nice thing about this budget though, guys, is you can take this and bring this to your contractor and it's a very logical breakdown. So for example, this is how we like to show you guys. It's all broken into sections. We have project prep, HVAC, electrical, plumbing. So when you meet with your contractors right here, like for this property, we had 2,000 square feet to rewire. That's just for the Romex. We had that budgeted at $3 a foot. How did we come up with the $3 a foot? Our electrician told us it was $3 a foot. So we go, okay, we came up with this budget. It's $6 grand to rough in the Romex. Panel is already good. We didn't need to replace that. If we did, it'd be 2,000. Then we have to trim the house out for another 2,000. That's for like a Tacoma property. They're using cheaper switches, easy to kind of trim out. In Seattle, we're going to be at $2 a foot because we're using nicer ones. So it's broken down, plugs and switches for 2. Then we had 14 light fixtures going in at $20 a light fixture. That's what we're sourcing out for you guys that we inside your lounge sheet. Our electrician charges us $25 to put it in. So based on interviewing our contractors, we built this based on materials and install rates, and that's how we kind of come up with this rough synopsis. Now, this is not perfect, but it's probably as close as I've ever seen getting there. I use this for every one of my budgets, and I make my own little tweaks on there. And so it's going to get you 95, 100% there, and then you want to go through with your contractor, and it makes it very, very easy to negotiate and talk to them as you're using this. When my electrician comes in and bids it at $12,000, I'm like, hey, let me recap some pricing with you because he told me what his numbers were. And a lot of times I can go through and verify, like, hey, so you're only charging me this much for Romex. You're only charging me this for panels. Is that right? This much per light fixture? And typically they're saying yes, yes, yes. And I'm like, so why are we off? And maybe we missed something. He's like, oh, well, you're missing the condensation line, whatever it is, right? Maybe we missed it. We got to add it in. Or they drop their price very easy. And what it does is it allows me when I'm negotiating my contractors to have a nice conversation with them, not going, hey, I need it cheaper. And they're like, I need more. I'm going, hey, I'm just trying to, I created my budget based on what you told me. So as you guys go through, you can go through your contractors, go through the same thing. So this is how we come up with our construction numbers.
Jimmy, are you first walking the house and coming up with your scope before you get the contractor in? And then coming up with this budget and then getting the contractor? How does that work?
Yeah, so what it works is our brokers go through and they fill this out based on a scope of work. We make the scope of work based on the comparables that we're referencing. We're going, okay, these are the houses. If we want to hit $700,000 value, we need this many bedrooms, this many bathrooms, this many upgrades, this many mechanicals. They go through and fill out this sheet based on what we see. And then the client takes it to their contractor because they might be more or less. And they're using that as their framework to buy the deal at that point. And so we're giving them basically, we don't go and bid it with a contractor because we don't know what client's taking the deal. And so we're doing
For you, like when you do it personally.
Oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
I just use a sheet and then we go. Yeah, I never bid properties because typically a lot of homes I buy, I get like an hour to go in and I can't go back in before we close. So we're using the sheet. We fill it out that way, and then we're using that as we quote it with generals at that point. And it's also my negotiating tool because the guys I'm bringing out, those are the people I interviewed for the sheet. So if they're off, I want to know why they're off. And so that's also why we're always updating because as pricing changes, if we start to see the trend, we update the sheet going, okay, this is just costing more. There's certain things that have definitely jumped.
So when you are talking to your GC, you already are like, hey, this is the scope and this is how much I think it's going to be. Right, and at that time they're just validating that or giving you a
First, we should be their pricing, right?
Yeah, it depends on who your general is. Some guys will be like, yeah, cool, I'm good with that. Some guys want to negotiate more. So what we can do is on that sheet is you can hide the pricing on it and you can just have the scope of work with counts and then you can give it to them and say, hey, give me a quote.
Yeah.
I personally like to get the quote first and then back them down based on logic that we've already had. But it depends on the general. I might do it one way with one guy, and it depends on who you're dealing with. Some guys are wheeling dealers. And that's just in their blood. That's what they're going to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so if I'm meeting that guy, I'm going to negotiate a little bit differently.
I'm looking forward to a class tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. Like with Devin.
Yeah. Oh, that one was with Devin, right? I
Yeah.
think the next one is about execution. Executing to the plan. Or was it just a video that you had posted? Probably confusing. But because
Yeah, that was one we just posted in the group.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just a webinar series for that one.
Yeah, because for me, I think that's one area.
That's
where
a good series. Watch that.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you guys, it's all about, it depends on who you're kind of working with, but we're giving you the tools to kind of go through it and break down the numbers that way. So after you look at the budget, you say that looks good, then we're gonna break down the comps, and you guys, I'm going long, so we're gonna speed this up a little bit. This will say, how do we come up with that value, right? So on this property, we had, typically you guys were gonna give you 3 to 5 comparables. Right now, we're really focusing on actives and pendings because we wanna make sure that that's where it's moving. Pendings are our priority. That's showing what the house is worth today. And then solds right now, we go back 6. We will go back 12 months if we have to. The reason being is the market was actually a little bit worse 12 months ago than it was today because there's a lot more fear, and the market actually dropped more and it's kind of rebounded back up. So old data for now, we're still going back, and there's a lot of lack of data points, and so we're going back to find those comps. But we don't do that unless we really need to. So if you pull the comparables, buy the property, hopefully you make some money. This is actually what it looked like. So you guys, an interesting story is this client lives in Ecuador. She has a general contractor here that's her good buddy. The general contractor works with Ryan and our designer, and he just does the project, and she literally flips from way down there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Megan designed everything, floors, paint colors. Their general hits up Ryan for other kind of referrals. As you see, very, it got what it's supposed to get. We could have took it to a higher level, but not necessary.
What about helping you guys helping with others investing in other states like let's say Texas?
We're only Washington guys.
Oh, no.
Yeah, only Washington, but don't know much about Texas.
Like in general, some other states basically. Like do you have like some kind of network there that you can refer?
We don't. We're Kingstone with Pierce County for Heaton. Dainard. Intrust does all Washington, but those are our 3 counties that we work in.
Yes. Okay.
We're big on selling what we know, and so it's we almost went nationwide at one point, and I decided not to. I was like, we're gonna just stick to our backyard and dominate it. Yeah.
Because you will know in and out.
Yeah.
My first flip was out of state in Texas.
I see.
I have a lot of horror stories.
Oh, is it?
Now I'm so happy that I'm with Jimmy and his folks.
You guys. There's nothing wrong with other states. Just always know what you're buying.
Yeah.
Like
You should have your team there, someone.
Yeah, I mean, I invest out of state with some flippers and operators. They know the market. I'm the finance guy.
Mhm.
I do joint venture deals with them because I don't want to learn a new market. This market's always changing, so we're trying to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
So, but you make money. I made money in Scottsdale, made money in Arkansas. It works, but they're doing the work. So, all right. So you guys, what happened on this deal? So the client paid $410. They put 130 in, and then we had a value of $699 to $720. I ended up selling for $800, and they made a net profit of $71,000 after all costs. And so other types of deals, and I'll run through these quick because we got hit the rental still. Shoreline project. These are very similar numbers to what we're going to be pitching you guys, right? This was 585. Had a budget 85 as a light cosmetic turn. It sold for 850, got bid up. Mukilteo rehab, this one was 380. Had a budget 105. It sold for 650. That's a big margin because this place was absolutely hammered. It was only 700 square feet, and they put 100,000 into it. So the bigger the fixture, bigger the margin. You'll see that's kind of a trend. This one, Seattle in Ravenna, purchased for 850. They put 250 in, sold it for 1433. That's a very similar number that what you're gonna get in Seattle. And then Everett, again, this one was beyond hoarder house. They paid 200,000. I think they had they put 130 into it and sold it for 550. So again, you guys, bigger the fixer, better the spread. So now that we covered fix and flip, I'm gonna kind of slam through the rental because again we're running long. So our long-term wealth department, you guys, is we sell single-family, multifamily, rooming houses, commercial, vacation rentals. And then if you want to be more passive, you can invest with us in one of our syndication deals, but you have to be accredited for that. And so the product that we sell you guys is stuff that we bought ourselves or that we own. We don't sell stuff we don't know. And so every one of these rental type of plans that we're pitching are stuff that we've implemented or own today. So why holdings? You know, a lot of people want to come in here and flip, and they should, right? It's a great way to build cash. It's a great engine to build your reserves, then start building out your rentals. That's how we started building ours. We started flipping a lot of properties. We take 25% of our profit every year, buy rentals with it, buy bursts. Then we'd refinance it, get our money back, had more 25%. We kept compounding that. And you know, that's how we went from 10 rental doors to 1,000. And so it's take your money, save it, buy a rental, go back with it. But there's lots of advantages, you guys. Tax benefits are huge in holding up. You get depreciation, you buy multifamily, cost segregation. These are real savings to your bottom line. You know, when you buy an apartment building, you can do a cost segregation and hyper depreciate your building. If you're having a big flip year, you can drive your income way down, so you're not paying these outrageous taxes. I wish I would have done way more of this 2014 to 2018. I would have saved a ridiculous amount of money in taxes. And so don't just think about the short term, think about the long term. Other reasons for buy and hold: hedge against inflation, passive income, financial freedom. Flipping is great. I still do it today. It's a lot of work. If you want to be out of the business, buy and hold, having these properties, building up your portfolio, and paying you. Additional resources that we offer through our long-term wealth department: 1031 exchanges. We've done a ton of it. If you have any property you want to look at, we can go through it with you. Does it make sense to trade it and get yourself into a better property? Save the taxes. Self-directed IRAs and 401k purchasing. We have referrals for custodians that we can refer you out to. You guys, on our 401k, we lend money out of it. We flip homes out of it. We've built homes out of it. You can do whatever you want with your 401k. And our returns are a lot better than we're going to get in the stock market. It's been the best engine for me saving retirement. Opportunity zones, if you have any questions on that, what the purpose is, what the benefit is. If you're looking for a specific type of property, we have seller databases because we've been doing off-market for 18 years. We have a lot of old leads, people that we've been talking to, a lot of off-market shadow inventory that we can re-engage for you if we know what you're looking for. We are specialists in leverage and structure. That is key for buying and hold properties, because you can go out and buy properties and put 20% down, and then you're going to run out of cash. Leverage is key for building out your portfolio. We own a lot of property in Seattle, and we have very little cash in them after 20 years. We've been able to get most of it back out. That allows us to keep developing, keep flipping, getting more money, go buy more rentals. And then discounts for property management. So you guys, for the last couple of years, our clients have been harassing us about doing property management because of our other services. So we do now offer property management. We had the cost of 5% with COVID and inflation, salaries, everything gone up. We do property management for 7%. That's still really low compared to the average. So if you're interested in property management, reach out. We can take over your existing or get you set up. So our team, so it's myself and Jen Hafner. Jen Hafner is not here tonight. She's a little ill. She's our multifamily specialist. She's gonna be working with you anything 2 units and above, figuring out where you want to be, whether you want to burr property or what kind of cap rates and type of long-term apartment deals that you're looking at. For 1031 exchanges, we work with Kyle Williams at Fidelity National Title. Our short-term financing partner is Kyle Intrust Funding. And then we have numerous different mortgage officers. Sadly, you guys, we don't really work with Caliber Home Loans as much anymore. Their underwriting got so weird for investors, we kind of crossed them off. But we have Keen, and then we have numerous different mortgage professionals that will get you in and out of these loans quickly. That's our priority. So why long-term wealth? Well, rents are on the increase. So 2022, guys, was ridiculous with the appreciation. King County saw appreciation of 20. Pierce County saw 22%. Snohomish County, that's a typo, that's 21%. Even this year, after that much hockey stick, we're still seeing really good growth in our rents. Not this much, but we're seeing 4, 5, 6% growth. In Everett, we hit 10% growth on our apartment building. So depending on the product, there's still a lot of rent growth in the market. The high end, not so much, but that's not what we buy. We buy that mid-grade, low-grade. That stuff's still doing really, really well. And so rents are on the rise, and you guys, as affordability is continuing to be an issue, rents are going to continue to rise. I mean, we all know buying a house right now is a lot more expensive than it was 2 years ago with rates. Rents are starting to look cheaper and cheaper again. That's going to pull them up more naturally again, which I did not think was going to happen, but now it looks like it's because we didn't see the dip from housing, from rates as much. So rents still have a lot of runway on them. Average home appreciation for the last 20 years is 3.53%. The reason we point this out is when we're looking at a rental property, we're going to take you through a 1 year, a 5 year, and a 10 year. That's going to factor in your cash flows and appreciation. We're going to use the average 3.53. That is the normal. The last couple of years, not normal. This is normal. And so when we look at these deals, we're always going to look at 3, 5, 10 years. So you can see if I buy this today, what is that going to look like in 10 years? We're going to factor in all your cash flows and the appreciation. So our process to get you going for buy and hold is a little bit different than fix and flip because it's a little bit more personal. If you want a BRRRR property, you kind of will buy whatever, right? You want the big fixer, you want the best possible deal, leverage it right. But many investors want to buy a property that they're comfortable, areas, location that they can drive to. So we really do want to set up a one-on-one meeting with you. We want to figure out what kind of returns you want. What are your location? What are your deal breakers? I have a lot more deal breakers for rental properties than I do for fix and flip. Because I have to own a lot of doors, there's a lot of management, I don't want problems, right? Or if I'm going to take the problem on, it better pay me really well. And so that's what we want to do in that one-on-one is find out where your kind of buy box and range is. If you own property, we can do a portfolio review for you. Are you maximizing that? Do you have a bunch of equity that's dead there? Should you sell it 1031 out? Should you keep it? What is going to get you to the highest and best use and move that needle down the road? We're going to put together a 5-year and 10-year action plan for you, get you pre-qualified, start identifying opportunities. If you are going to look at doing a 1031 exchange, we can sit down with you. We're going to do a strategy meeting for you. We're going to look at your portfolio. We're going to look at opportunities. How can we upgrade you? We're going to get your 1031 set up. We're going to get your properties listed. We're going to locate a new investment and then increase your annual return by the end. We are not going to tell you to 1031 exchange unless we are getting you a better overall return or a way bigger equity position. There's no point in trading out unless you are jumping ahead. And so if you do have a portfolio, we can meet with you. We'll go over the numbers. We'll explain the numbers to you, and then you kind of figure out what you want to do. Actually, Liam is on a sabbatical. He's on a silent retreat sabbatical. Because Marlene in the back is actually our house hacking first-time home buyer program. And so yes, we do offer for investors that come in. If you don't own your own property, you have the best opportunity to get yourself into a rental property. The reason being, you have way less down. You don't have to come in with 10, 20% down. You can put 3% down. Your interest rate is going to be 1% cheaper than we can all get in this room right now. So you can cash flow properties better. You can put less money in. That gives you a huge competitive edge, especially in the small multifamily 2 to 4 units. It's kind of a stale market right now. You can get in, get better cash flow because the rate's better and with way less down. There's new financing to where you can put 5% down, 2, 3, and 5, 4 units. It used to always be 10 to 20%. So you can put way less down on a multifamily. So if you do not own a property and you're interested in this, let us know. We'll get you in for a meeting.
Jimmy, is that only for owner occupied?
Only owner occupied.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can move every year.
My wife's not going to be happy over it.
And you don't have to live there that long.
It's
You know.
1 year, right? 1 year.
Yeah, but if someone comes and knocks on your doors and offers you a bunch of money for your rent, you can move into a different house. As long as you live there for a month, there's a reason to move. But yes, you can't qualify for another one until it's up 1 year.
1 year.
You guys, we've had investors that came in and they literally did this every year for 10 years because they maxed out at 10. And they built out an awesome portfolio 2009, 10, 11. And by doing that alone, they made millions of dollars they've 1031 exchange out of because they're buying properties for like 150 grand. And it doesn't matter what the price is, it's the concept. You're getting in for a lower rate, lower down, and you don't eat up your liquidity, you move it to the next one. And especially if you're buying value add, if you do that 10 times over 10 years, you're going to have couple $1 million in equity. It does work, and you can do it. So utilize leverage. Syndications, guys, are just a real touch. If you guys are interested in investing with us, you must be accredited. It is true passive return. This is for our apartment deals. You're going to get a pref return of around 6 to 8%. Typically, our target IRR is 15 to 17%. And then you get bonus depreciation, which is why a lot of people do syndications. That's why I do them. At the end of the year, if I have a big tax bill, I'm usually throwing money in a syndication, because if I throw, say, 200 grand in a syndication, or let's say 100 grand, that's typically going to give me back 40 grand in taxes that I don't need to pay. And so sometimes it's better just to buy property than to pay the tax. And so if you are interested, reach out. That's a different meeting. We kind of meet with you separately. And we're constantly doing more and more apartment deals. All of our deals are Kingstone, Pierce County. So, but if you guys want to,
What's the minimum on that?
oh, what's the minimum?
Yeah.
100,000.
100.
Yeah. 100,000. Yep. And if you guys, and we'll be pretty straightforward with you guys on what your goals are. Syndication is great for certain things. If you're in a growth, I would say let's do that a little bit later down the road. Because you're always going to maximize even a deal like this, because you can get way better leverage and returns. The beautiful thing about syndicating is you save money on taxes, you don't have to do the work. And for me, I'm running a lot of different businesses. I don't have time to even go buy rentals, do more, and get that and to get that bonus depreciation. So that's why I throw money in those deals. So it's about
More
time.
passive.
Yeah, it's way more passive. I don't worry about it. I get my returns, and not only that, I get my tax benefit, which is what I'm really looking for. So, all right. So you guys, we're gonna break down a rental property real quick, and then we're gonna move on to interest funding, and then we'll open it up for questions. So you guys, this is a typical kind of rental property that we're seeing right now, because we're not seeing a lot of cash flow in the market, and that's okay. There's a purpose to every part of the market. So this is a property that we sourced out for one of our clients, and we've got this deal off market. It was a 2-bed, 1-bath, 1943 built house on a 9,900 square foot lot. So I did like that. It was only 700 square feet, built in 1943. And the other thing we liked about it is a true cosmetic fixer. It was, had decent roof on it, decent little paint, wasn't in terrible shape. But what we didn't like about it when we first looked at it, it was the math. We're like, we can't really make this work. Even though it was only 350 grand in Burien on a big lot, we couldn't figure out how to make it pencil, because you can't force the plan. So our price, when we first looked at this as a flip, we're like, all right, you can buy this for 350. You put $65,000 in the renovation by adding a bathroom, full cosmetic turn. It was going to be worth $500. After all said and done, you were only going to make $10,000 to $15,000 in profit. That's a risky deal. Cash invested with 20% down was going to be $83,000. That's a 12.5% cash on cash return. Our target is 30 to 40%. That is a no buy for us to sell to our clients. Even though we're like, this is $350 and it's cheap, we're not going to market it that way. So then we're like, well, can we make this work as a rental? So $350 purchase, we had a budget of $370 or $35,000 to renovate it, not adding the bathroom. And then the value was $475. We came up with that because we ran 2 sets of comps, and actually because of the affordability factor, there wasn't a lot of delta. 500 was starting to be the max in the area. And so the 2 ones were getting $475, a 2.2 was getting $500. What we did like about this was we're like, all right, well, there's $100,000 equity position in this deal. Even though you can't really flip it and make money today, there's equity that we're building up that we can trade for later. And so we started digging into it a little bit more. So again, just like any of the other emails, you're gonna be able to go through all the photos. We like to have a 1-car garage. I really like to have this big backyard because, as we know, ADUs and DADUs are a popular thing. Great spot to be building them. And you guys, when we sold this deal, Burien was not allowing you to condoize off ADUs. Now you can condoize them off there. So this property went up substantially for this client in the last 9 months. And the reason I want to look at this is because when we look at the numbers, you're not going to be that impressed with the cash flow. But as you go through, cosmetic deal, nothing really major, 1990s cabinets, very light fixer. So we were planning on doing some replacing the cabinets, appliances, paint, because it is important that we improve it enough to hit that new appraised value. If we would have gone in and spent $5,000, it was going to appraise low. You're going to have to leave a lot more money in the deal. So it was important that we went through the scope of work and designed it right. As you see, not too bad. So then this is our rental portfolio or pro forma, just like our flip calc. So same type of thing. This is going to break down all the analytics of the cash flow, your equity position, and then how much cash you need to leave in the deal. The most important box here, guys, is here. This pulls out all this analytics into your key figures. And we'll get to that in a second. So in here, we had a purchase price of $350. We had our rehab, total project cost, and then the appraised value at $475. This box then calculates 2 months of refinance, in 2 months of rehab period. The reason this is important, when you're buying these deals, you're buying it with hard money. Hard money is 12%. It's expensive. You're also not making income during that time. That's money you have to feed into the deal. So we have to put that into the equation when we're talking about leveraging that up. Vacancy, then we had rents at $28.50 for this property. We'll show you how we got there. And then we're going to back out all the expenses for, taxes, insurance, if you have a mortgage payment, if you are paying for the landscape and all those things, we're going to add those in. Typically in a house in Burien, tenants paying trash, they're paying garbage, they're paying electric, they're paying landscaping, they're paying all their own costs. So these houses don't have a ton in there. If you wanted to add in property management, we'd add that in for you at that point. So this will calculate our cost. So after you pay $350, you refinance the property, you put 25 in, then you refinance it. Sorry, guys. $350 rehab cost, appraisal at $475. Here, this is going to tell you what your loan to value is. This is important. This is why it's really important you get pre-qualified with a mortgage professional. Some of you are going to qualify for 75% loan to value. Some are going to qualify for 70. If you're buying it to maybe even live in it, or it's owner occupied, you can go to 80. So based on this loan to value, we want to know that because that's going to dictate how much cash is left in the deal. The cash in the deal is going to tell you what your cash flow is. So based on a 70% loan to value, because that's typically what an investor has, this is going to calculate what your loan amount is going to be. The loan amount then is going to kick you out your payment of $28.50. So after we back out all these back out income versus all the costs, this investor was going to make $199 a month or $23.89 annually. This was going to factor that they were going to have to leave $53,000 in the deal to cash flow that much. And it's going to tell you that that's a 4% return. So in this box, it's going to tell you how much cash you need to leave in after refi. So, or when you take it down, $93,000 to buy it, cover the whole cost, all those things. When you refinance it, you're going to get 50% back of your cash. And then what your return is. So if you look at this, if someone told me, hey, you can buy a 4% cash on cash return on your rental and inflation's 7%, I'm going, well, why would I do that? But these deals, you guys, there's some hidden value in these. And this is why when we dig into them. So at a rent cost of $28.50, 70% loan to value, you got to leave $53,000 in the deal. $199 a month of cash flow. Cap rate 7.8%. Who cares about that single family? No one cares. Your cash on cash return is 4%, which I think is garbage. Not for me. I target 10%. But the equity position is 75 to 100K on this. And now it's even more with that conduit coming off. So when I'm looking at properties like this, it's not about the cash flow today. It's about the equity I can build to trade later in as gunpowder that I can go buy another property with adding no more money in the deal. In addition to, rates today are short term. Rates go up, they come down. So even if it's not that great of a cash flow deal today, I'm still picking up the $100,000 in equity position, and I got to wait rates down. The good thing about today's market is, you guys, for us to be able to get a good return 2 years ago with the low rates, we were have to buy the biggest fixer. We were going to burr it. We're going to renovate it for 12 months, probably 8 to 12 months, not collect any income, then refinance and get all our cash back out. Now all we have to do is wait rates down, and I'll show you why. But so after this, sorry guys, I jumped ahead there. This is in your analytics, just like with any deal, we're going to give you how to come up with rent numbers. We're going to do that through Rentometer, which is an analytics pulling the rent comps, and then in addition to, we're going to pull you Northwest MLS comps. Good thing is we had a broker inside of our office rent something for $2,900, so we felt really good about the $2,750 or $2,850. So if we look at maximizing your cash flows today, right? As investors, we're not looking at flipping and developing is about the next 6-12 months. Buy and hold is about the next 12, 24, and 10 years. And so don't get trapped on today, because today, $199 a month, 7% interest, 4% cash on cash return, not great. But look what happens as rates start to fall, right? So like let's say in 18 months, the rates start falling into the 5s, which is usually kind of where they float during this time. I can buy this property, pick up $100,000 in equity, and then all I have to do is wait it out. I pick up the $100,000, and if they go down to 5.5, my cash flow goes from 4% to 12%. If they go to 5, it goes to 14. If it goes to 4.75, it goes to 15%. I was not able to do this on any Burr property 2 years ago with the lower rates. We were gonna have to buy that, sit vacant for a year, renovate it, and all I have to do here is make $200 a month and wait it out. And I do have to part with my cash for 12 to 18 months of $40,000 down. But once the rates turn, my returns go to 15%. And not only that, that doesn't factor in what the equity position is, that $100,000. I can then go, even if I don't want to wait for rates and I want to sell that in 1 year and a day, I now have $100,000, which is going to qualify me to go buy another $400,000 to $500,000 property, get all of my money back out of that deal, and now I'm getting a rental property for free by just buying and sitting on it and making $200 a month. And so it's not just about the cash flow today, it's about the equity position and what can you trade it for, and then you get the cash flow. Cash flow is for when you want financial freedom. I don't know. I'm not retired. I'm not living off my cash flow right now. I'm building and I'm building, I'm trading equity. In 10 years, I hope to sell it all, put it in a couple different buildings, and then I'll live off my cash flow. But the goal is to build equity. That's money in the bank. You can take that money, trade it with 1031, pay 0 taxes, and then compound and domino the effect. And so that's what we're really focused on today, because a lot of investors are looking at it like, well, it doesn't cash flow. Well, okay, well, as long as there's that big equity position, we're going for it. Now, I'm kicking myself for not buying that, because now you can build 2 daddies in the back there, selling for $500 each. And this guy's going to absolutely crush that deal by leaving $40K in. He's probably going to make $250,000 on it in 12 months. It's a huge return, right? We'd all be happy with that kind of return. So other types of rental success stories we have, and then Intrust will come up and talk. Sorry, guys, I'm going on. Units, we sold a 4-plex in Seattle, is $800,000. Client get a 1031 exchange. They put $310 down. They're making a 10% return. We sold 2 4-plexes in Burien for 1.96. It was about 1.96 for the 2 of them. Was a 12% return on that, so it's a good, healthy return. Bothell duplex, more Burr style, 462. They left $73,000 in the deal, but they're getting a 16% return on it right now. And not only that, it's worth about $700,000. So they're picking up a huge equity gain. They put about $100,000 in, or $120,000 in.
Are you still seeing a lot of Burrish properties?
There's a lot of Burrs right now, you guys, because the major fixers are the ones that are the most discounted right now. And so you guys, if you want to pick up some really good rentals, like good place to do that right now is like White Center, Del Ridge, major fixers, because they're on bigger lots. You can ADU them later. You can typically leave about 10% in the deal and break even. And then once rates fall, even 1.5 points, you're up to 10% cash flow, and the equity position jumps dramatically. Because those properties too, like dirt in West Seattle dropped like 30-40% than it was 2 years ago. So there's a lot of like, you guys, when the market rebounds, if you have property on land, it 2x's on the return. So like people are paying $700,000 for a 8,000 square foot RSL lot in White Center. Now it's $500,000. And so the developers and stuff aren't really bidding on that as much. So you can go to that single family buyer, buy it, break even for a year or maybe even 2, but then build 6 cottages on it or sell it off to the developer for 6 cottages. And there's a huge upside in those. And so obviously townhome and RSL came way down in pricing. Single family went up. And so by targeting that for the rental, we'll really, really expedite that, like your growth.
I'll hold. I have a few other questions, but I'll hold till then.
Okay, cool. I'll let Kyle talk money real quick, and then we'll come up and just answer questions with you guys.
We're gonna make this portion short for you guys, so, get this in work. Do you guys wanna see any of that? Those last parts there? You never got to those or anything? If you need to take any of those down? You guys good? Okay.
Like you get contacts.
It's just contacts for his, like the Project RE website, Heaton, Dainard, just more resources and stuff like that.
Will we get this by date or?
I think all of that is easier, right? Probably.
If it's not, we can get you anything. I don't think we typically send out the whole deck,
Okay.
but whatever you need, we can get you, so.
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna go pretty quick on this. Some of it he's touched on, and I know you guys have been here for a while, so I want to expedite it. I am Kyle. I am with Intrust Funding. Monroe is back there as well. If you guys want to learn more about hard money, like more in depth, next Thursday right now on the 6th, I'm doing, so once a month I do Hard Money 101, which is a version of this, but it's solely on hard money. It goes into a lot of scenarios. Typically we bring up a deal, we underwrite it in front of you so you can see kind of the back end. So we'll be doing that. It's also available via Zoom as well.
Okay.
So I'll tell you a little bit quicker on this. And then if you guys set up a one-on-one with one of the acquisition teams, either myself or Monroe will jump into that, sit down, answer questions, a little bit more personal than this right here. So I'm gonna skip over the team. A lot of it is overlapping. We have a same team, accounting, sales, operations, marketing. I don't know why this is so blown up. Couple things on hard money. Just so you know, first off, it's a commercial loan. So it doesn't mean you have to buy a commercial property. It means that it can't be for consumer use. So we will not lend you any funds on a property that you plan on occupying yourself. So basically it has to be a fix and flip or a buy and hold or short-term, long-term rental. It's quick funding. Typically we can fund a deal in as little as 48 hours. We've done 24 hours before. Typically it's faster than escrow companies. So I like to say 3 business days is on average. The biggest thing about hard money, I guess, is how we evaluate a loan. Sorry, I'm talking slow because I had oral surgery. So it's a little tender right here if I sound weird. What we're looking at is we're always basing our loan against the after repair value. Some properties you come across, you might be able to take to a bank. The reason how a bank's going to look at it is they're going to have an appraisal. They're going to give it today's as is value. So we're always lending on the future value. We're not worried about what it's doing today. Let's see what else here. So we are the primary hard money lender for Heaton Dainard. So we have already looked at the deals, pre-approved those deals. However, you can bring us any type of loan situation you need that is in Washington State, and we can fund it for you. So it doesn't have to be a Heaton Dainard deal. A little bit about us. I mean, similar to Heaton Dainard, we're using our same expertise, being subject experts on Washington State, understanding the different areas, pockets, products, and our lending. So if you were to search for hard money lenders out there, you're going to see a lot across the board. There's a lot of companies use institutional money, which means they're selling the loan off to Wall Street or to a hedge fund. Those companies have a lot more hoops to jump through. They're going to require a lot more information. They're going to need an appraisal. They're going to need a full application, W-2s, pay stubs, look at your debt to income ratio, basically like you're applying for a home loan. So their closing time is maybe 2-3 weeks. It's going to all depend on that appraisal. So it's not really true hard money. There's only a few companies out there. I would say I think we're the only ones that are owned and managed by actual investors themselves. There's some companies in the area that are owned by locals, but they're not in the game like Will and James are as well. So you really have more expertise. So a lot of people bring us stuff and say, hey, what's your opinion? What do you guys think of this property? I'll get to that in a second. We'll always look at a deal for you. Pre-qualification, we keep it very, very simple. So some of what I'm talking about right now, the property portion, if you're buying a Heaton Dainard deal, is already done for you. But to get pre-qualified, why someone would want to be pre-qualified is one, you want to know what you can buy. So unlike a bank, we're not pre-qualifying you necessarily saying you're pre-qualified to buy an $850,000 house. We kind of look at it deal by deal. So we're not just gonna give you a letter that says you're pre-qualified to buy $1 million. We can give you a rough idea by saying how much cash flow or how much funds you have to invest on what you can buy, but the down payments and everything will be specific per deal. But pre-qualification with us is simple. We just need to know who's gonna be on the loan. That might be just you and a spouse, you and a business partner, you might have an LLC. If it's an LLC, anybody that has 20% or more ownership in the LLC must go on the loan. Anybody below 20% can just be a silent partner. We need to have one bank statement. We don't need rolling bank statements or a whole bunch of stuff. We need to show where the funds are for the down payment. Do you have reserves to make the monthly payment? It can be in the form of a bank statement, a business bank statement, a combination of a couple different bank accounts. Doesn't have to be seasoned in one account. We're not particular. We just need to see the funds. Line of credit works. Stock accounts work. Typically don't like to accept like 401k retirement unless you're really going to use it. And then a credit report. So usually as a buffer, people send us a screenshot to start with, but to do a loan with us, we've changed this recently. We do a soft pull credit score. Doesn't count as an inquiry. It's not going to hurt your scores or anything like that. What we're looking for is about a 650 or higher. Now there are situations we've done loans with people with lower credit scores. We might dig in a little bit and see why. I mean, we have a lot of people that are investors and they have their credit cards maxed out from another project. But we typically have looked over the last 13 years of lending. The average person that makes their payment on time to us, we don't have problems with, was a 650 credit score. So once we do a credit score, once we do that soft pull, that report is valid for 12 months with us. We don't have to do it again. We do require a new bank statement per loan. Some of our borrowers do a couple projects at a time or take on one before the other one's done. It's all just precautionary to make sure you're not getting too far in. Now, pre-qualifying the property. So we don't require an appraisal. That's one of the unique things about us. If you were to send us a property, again, the Heaton Dainard ones already have this done. You're going to say, hey, I'm looking at this property. It's off market, for example. Here's 15 photos, maybe 5 of the exterior, 10 of the interior. It's giving us an as is of what the property looks like. If we have that, an address, even if you don't know the scope of work yet, we can underwrite a property for you. But ultimately, we need to have a scope of work, how long of a loan you're thinking, and then again, if you're trying to do our rehab all in one loan, or if you just want to do the purchase only loan. Any questions on that? It's not even an application, it's really just piecing these things together. If you get this to me in Monroe, I would say 7 days a week, we can turn around a pre-approval letter within 5 minutes. There are some times you might want to submit a property to our underwriter that I don't want to say yes, you might say, I'm thinking 530, but can I go up to 650? A lot of times we'll submit that to our underwriter and get an ARV and kind of reverse engineer it and say, here's what we think it's worth. The rehab is about 100K. This is kind of your area you can put your offer in depending on what returns you're looking to make or how quickly you get the project done. But we are available 7 days a week to write you that letter. This is kind of a step-by-step. You pre-qualify yourself, you submit a property, we write you a pre-approval letter. The pre-approval letters, I might have one up coming up in a second. It's pretty aggressive. It says there's no conditions, no appraisal required to fund as little as 72 hours from mutual acceptance. So the goal is to get the agent to call us and be able to close the transaction for you. So if a property is under contract or anytime, we'll provide a complimentary deal analysis. So this looks very similar to what James has been showing. So at any point you want to submit something to us, whether it's under contract or you're just interested in submitting an offer, we will give you back the pro forma. We will give you basically the comps we're coming up with. We'll give you the tax records and everything like that. So we'll give that to you at any point on any deal. There's no cost to do that. We're always here to basically help you finding a better deal. Assignment fees. Does everybody in here, does anybody not know what an assignment fee is? Okay, so assignment fee is dealing with wholesale properties. So if you're not buying something that's listed on MLS, I'll give a scenario. I have a property that I'm buying a property from you, for example, and you agree to sell it to me for $500,000. I'm then going to turn around and I'm a wholesaler. I'm selling this to Monroe for $530,000. So Monroe comes to Intrust for a loan. we will wrap that $30,000, that the margin I'm putting on there, the
Yeah.
assignment fee,
Okay.
we'll include that into the loan, and I will get paid that back at closing. Most lenders out there don't like assignment fees. They make the investor pay that out of their pocket outside of closing. So by wrapping it in, it's just another leverage tool that you don't have to pay $30,000 to somebody and then another down payment to close a loan. Okay, so we have two loan types. If you guys remember the performance that James was showing, the left column was standard, the middle was rehab, the right was cash. Standard loan is purchase only or acquisition. Not as popular. We use it a lot with cash buyers, people that want to leverage their money, be able to pick up more deals. If the scope of work or budget is very minimal and they have that money, they don't want to pay interest on it. A quick bridge situation, maybe they are waiting for a property to close or want to take on a new one and have funds coming very, very soon. And honestly, for a lot of people that are contractors and do the work themselves, they'll still go with the standard loan because they're not really paying labor, they're paying mostly material costs. And then we have the rehab loan, which again, we're doing one loan. We don't do second position loans. So we do a first and we do the rehab combined into one. Our interest rate, as James said, it's always 12%. In 13 years, we've never changed. Doesn't matter what the market's doing. We don't go up, we don't go down. We do not sell your loans off to anybody. We service them from start to finish. So we're not going to turn around and close this and sell it to Wall Street. One thing to talk about down here is extensions. So we're always very, very particular, at least myself and Monroe, when putting together a time frame for your loan. Our loans typically run from 5 months to 12 months. And the longer the loan, the more it costs in origination points. The shorter, it's always a minimum of 2 points. There's no prepayment penalty. The reason I say this is we are one of the few companies that have written into our loan documents that there are 2 45-day automatic extensions. So say you do a 6-month loan, something takes longer to sell, the project takes longer. You can extend your loan twice. It's not cheap. It costs you 1% or 1 point, not out of pocket. It's added to the loan, but it's guaranteed if you're on time with your payments. Excuse me, most lenders out there, as soon as your maturity date comes up, basically it goes to their board or their ownership to decide, do we want to extend this or not? So we get calls all the time. They're like, well, this happened and I'm 90% done, but they won't extend my loan. So do know there is some time in there, but we do a pretty good job. It's less expensive in my mind to choose a slightly longer loan if you need it and pay less up front and pay the extensions in the back. But again, it's always up to you guys on what the actual loan term is. And I think where this makes the most decisions is if you're burning a property. So one thing with us, if you're going to do a buy and hold, or that's your intent going in, we're going to want to see that you have a pre-approval letter, like James talked about, but we want to see or have a conversation with your takeout lender of what the terms of that are. Since our application, or whatever you want to call it, only is a bank statement and a credit score, we don't know if you actually are approved to keep this property. You might have $1 million in the bank, but your debt to income ratio is so backwards that you can't keep that. So we won't do a short-term loan that you're going to keep without knowing you can get out of our loan. That's just something we do so that you don't get to the 11th hour and you have no exit. So on those ones, we want to see that. And then we also want to see what the terms are. We want to see, will they refinance you at 75% loan to value, 70? Do they need to see that you've made X amount of payments with us? Some lenders can do a quick refi. Say you're taking something down, it's fairly turnkey. You spend a month fixing it up. You get an appraisal, you can get right out. I did one this month that they had to have 6 months payments showing and then an appraisal. So we put it together for like an 8-month loan. So we don't want to put you in a 5 or 6 month loan and then you're paying extension fees to get to where the lender needs. So our goal is to set you up for success in the end. So everybody wants to know where the down payment comes from. So in Western Washington, we are 15 to 20% typically. Eastern Washington, we're always a little bit higher. Reason is that is not where Will and James's expertise is. It's a great area. We have a ton of borrowers over there, but it's not they don't know like the backhand like they do King, Pierce, and Snohomish County. So what we're looking for is the 70% rule. We will lend up to 70% of the after repair value with a minimum of 15% down. So some deals, 15% down will work. We will always push for the lowest down payment. Sometimes you'll need 20% down. There are situations, if you're trying to buy a turnkey property, you will need to bring 25 to 30% to close. This is where it gets tricky. So the more distressed the house is, the lower the down payment. If you're buying a house that's turnkey, you want to Airbnb it or something like that, it's a great deal, and only a cash type offer is going to get that closed, you're going to have to typically bring 30%. Because if it's turnkey, the ARV is basically what you're paying for the house today. So if you're buying a $500,000 house, it's worth $515,000, say. To get us to that 70% rule, you're going to have to be bringing more money in. So it sounds backwards that a house is about to fall over. You can put 15%, in a perfectly good house, you put 30%. But that's really just how it works with hard money lending. Okay, so another unique thing about us is we combine all of our fees into our loan. So when I say origination fees or fees, if you were to search out there and you get a quote from a lender that's 10% down or 15% down, that's just a down payment. Whatever fees they charge, you also have to pay that at closing. So you're typically bringing 15, 20, 25% if you add those all up. So hypothetically, you have a $500,000 loan. This is for easy math, 20% down, so 100 grand. So that brings the total to 400,000. You do a 5 to 6 month loan, which is 2 points. 2% of 400,000 is 8,000. Rather than having to bring $8,000 to close, we are just rolling that into the loan. So we try to simplify it. It's a bigger leverage tool. I've had a couple people want to pay it up front. You can, but we're going to automatically roll it in if not. I'm going to skip over this because you guys seen a lot of these little slides. So draws is kind of our last thing I'm going to talk about. So a draw is basically a disbursement. So when you're borrowing rehab funds, they're given to you in disbursement. So as you progress and complete items off your scope of work or budget, more money is given to you. We make it very, very simple. We don't require physical inspections. Almost, I shouldn't say all, a high percentage of companies require some sort of inspection, whether it's a third party, someone that the company works with that they send out. You have to pay for that inspection. You have to schedule it, wait for them to come out, validate your work, relay their results back to the lender. If they've sold that loan off, it goes to some servicing company who then, it's a lot of back and forth. It can take a lot of time to get your money back just to get to the next step of the draw. So to make things simple, we don't require inspections. What we are looking for is every time you're ready for your next draw, you are to take 15 progress photos using your phone. We give you a link you can upload those to. It goes directly to our portfolio manager. His sole job is to handle your rehab draws. That's all he does. And the other thing is we are the only ones, and I just was in Vegas at a lending conference and people were astonished by this. We're the only ones that I can find that will advance the first draw at closing. So if you have a $100,000 rehab, for example, and you're closing today, tomorrow you can request up to $25,000. That's our cap on the first draw. So that'll be given back to you the next day. So you can also look at it, whatever your down payment is, you're getting, it depends on your scope of work. If you have like a $50,000 scope of work, it's probably a $15K draw. So $200,000 would be $25K. You're getting that back the next day. So before you've even touched a project, we're giving you that back in hand.
That's almost like your superpower.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really helpful.
It reduces the reserves that we need.
So this is just like a little scenario. Now, the draw process can be customized however you want. You have to have a minimum of 3 draws. There's no maximum. And you can change it once the process has started. I always tell people, I think it's better to take more draws than less. The less draws, the more money you're getting. The more money and less draws, the further you have to get through the project before you're eligible for another draw. So I say take the 20 to 25K first and then go with smaller amounts to get yourself through. Now, typically our budgets and scope of work that we're making clients fill out now have I don't have an example of it, but we have a category for labor and materials now. It's a new thing. And this is typically over 50K. The reason is if you go out and buy windows, doors, whatever, say they're not even in stock and you have the receipt, you turn it in, no matter how far you are in the project, we'll reimburse you. So any materials you pay for, you get right away. All the labor goes back to a percentage complete. If it's lumped into one thing, Sean, our portfolio manager, can't tell what's been done out of each line item, so he can't draw you back right away. So it's just an easier way that if you're buying stuff, to really be able to reimburse you for it quicker. Yeah.
So what would be like recommended, like if, like I'm a general contractor, I would want my company to do the rehab. Would I just basically build, my company just build the project with just labor? Or
I've seen it both ways.
both
I mean, I've seen some guys who want to make some money for their company. Maybe they're not charging as much as they typically would, so they still have costs associated in there. I've seen some people want to eliminate that because they're the investor, and kind of everyone has done it a little bit differently.
Okay.
So it's completely up to how you want to do that.
But how would I show that with you guys? Just like, let's say my company builds labor and materials.
So, I had this scenario right now. I have a loan closing over the 30th, Thursday. And he's doing the same thing. He gave a rough estimate of labor. And again, it's mostly going to go to a threshold. The only time is if you run in a situation where you're buying a bunch of stuff and you want to be reimbursed before the actual item is put into the house. That's the only really reason that material spot is there. Most of it is, and we have a sheet that we send out, and I don't have an example over here. It says, typically this is what's done. The first percentage, second percentage is these items that are typically completed. So we'll piece you through it, or I can always connect you with Sean ahead of time and you can say, here's my situation, what's the best way to do this? So the rest of this is really just performas. You guys want me to walk you through one of these? James explained. I don't want to keep you here all night. So
James already took this.
okay. You guys have any questions I can answer?
I have a
Scenario.
question for you.
Yeah.
Number one, you guys don't do bridge drawn between two projects, right? Or if I were to ask you this way, right? So currently, I'm in a deal with you folks, right? I'm about 90% done or ready to list. I'm seeing another deal which I need, but the current one is not going to sell for another month and get my cash flow, right? So will you be able, and say I'm about 50, 60K short, do you guys have any products there to bridge that? Or actually, this is an idea that Jimmy gave me a few weeks ago. Will you be able to refi me out on my original loan for a portion of it if I give you my second loan?
It's a possibility. I'm trying to think here.
It sounds expensive.
I mean, it sounds expensive. Is the thing.
Jimmy said you can do it for free.
I mean, Jim's a boss, so I mean, if he says something, I mean, there are some situations like that. I mean, so we're a first position lender. So I mean, a lot of times we have people come to us. If there's enough equity in that house and it makes sense for us to do it, I mean, we don't do any seconds, so we can't just come in and do a second for the difference. We'd have to run the numbers. It's definitely possible. I mean, if Jimmy says he'd do it, I mean, he gets it's ultimately Will and James's call. So, but I mean, on bridge loans, we typically, a lot of those are almost like a second position because you're bridging the gap. I'm trying to
I don't think bridge would work, but maybe if there's like a refi.
It would work.
Because especially
I mean, we have one closing tomorrow, for example. Monroe and I worked on. It's over in, where is it even located?
Gig Harbor?
No, Tony's.
Oh, Shelton.
It's in Shelton. It's been listed. It's done. It's sitting a little bit longer. He wants money to buy another project. There's enough in there for us to pay off that loan, get him like 40K cash out, and that's what he was looking for. So that to us is a scenario, but it depends on what the numbers look like.
So it's more like a case by case basis. You can.
It's case by case, yeah. Only thing I didn't talk about, and it doesn't come up too much, is cross collateral. So we will do cross collateral. It's kind of a little tool. So basically, if you ever get to a point that you own, it has to be an investment property, can't be your primary, free and clear, you can use that in lieu of a down payment. So say, for example, this is the loan and you're buying this or whatever right here. If you have a free and clear rental property, basically you're going to go 0 down. You're just going to have a monthly payment with us. We're basically putting a lien on both properties, and you can do that over and over again. So I have a gal right now that this is a high-end rental in Bellevue, skyscraper tower type thing, and she needed to buy another high-end Kirkland property, about the $2 million range. She had the first one outright, didn't want to do a down payment of a couple $100,000, so that one was listed. We put a lien on it. She went 0 down to buy a $2.6 million property. The Bellevue one's selling or paying off on the 5th of December, and then she'll own the new one free and clear. So basically, you can reuse that property over and over again. It's called cross collateralization, but you do have to have a free and clear property to do that. So you're not having to put any capital out, but remember, since you're not putting a down payment, you're going to have a higher monthly payment. Any other questions?
With the hard money loans, do you guys typically see those like on like a duplex, where like if I were to refinance into it, use it as a primary, kind of like that strategy they were talking about?
Oh, as like in a house hack type thing?
Like a house hack with like a hard money
So,
loan,
I mean-
kind of like rehab the property.
It's a gray line. So I mean, the intent, when you come into the loan, the intent has to be as a pure investment. I mean, we really don't know what happens down the road. You can't live in it while you have the hard money loan, and you can't come in and tell us that's your intent. I am sure there are people that have bought something, refied out, and done something with it themselves in the future. But throughout that loan, everything you're signing says this is non-owner occupied. It would basically be a breach in the loan documents if you were to live in it or occupy it. So
I would also, I want to just clarify because I'm kind of confused. With the, so if I use the hard money loan to kind of do a BRRRR strategy, I can do that, right? I just have to be upfront with the intent of using it for a BRRRR.
So, I mean, typically a BRRRR is not an owner occupied.
Mhm.
I mean, a non-owner occupied.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, basically you just come and say, I'm buying this house, I'm fixing it up, I'm gonna keep it as a rental, or I'm buying this house, fixing it up, keeping it as a flip. Now, sometimes your exit strategies change throughout, there's people that come in and say, I'm gonna flip this, and they end up refining out, and we're perfectly fine with it.
If I were to refinance into it as a primary, I would just basically have to have that pre-approval with like the conventional thing.
Correct, but you can't come in with the intent of it being your primary, we wouldn't do the loan.
Oh, okay. So this is only strictly for.
Yeah, so hard money cannot be used no matter where. I mean, we get calls every single day for people trying to find creative ways to do something for themselves, but it has to be purely for something that is going to be non-owner occupied.
Okay.
Like I said, I mean, I'm sure there are people that have done loans that down the road, they own 5 rental properties and they switch into one or something. What you do with it down the road, we don't really know.
Mhm.
But the intent, the pre-approval, typically pretty easy because we see a pre-approval and we can see the rate. And we typically know that the rates for a non-owner occupied are higher than a primary. So, I mean, those are like triggers. We just don't want to do something because we would get trouble by DFI and shut down over a simple loan. So it's the rules and regulations that are out there.
The standard, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much just took away, that's why they just consider this a commercial loan and not a consumer loan. I mean, I can't tell you how many calls we get that, you know, people want to fix up their house to get a better sales price for it, you know, don't have the funds for that, but it's typically there for fixing and flipping or buying something, adding value to it, and then refining so you get the better value add compared to just buying a rental, getting a loan done right away, where the bank's going to give you as is value. You're just increasing the value of the property. Anybody else?
Can you explain the difference between the first two? Like,
The products or just all the way through?
no, just the products.
Yeah, so I mean, this one right here, so both these are looking at 365. So this is an actual deal by Tyler. He actually works here now. His first flip, it was a condo in Totem Lake, 365 purchase, little, almost say $33,000 fix up. So a standard loan, we did this for 15% down, so I use the actual numbers. He,
So the standard loan.
did he do the standard on the first one? Do you remember?
No, he did
No,
construction.
okay. So standard loan is purchase price 365, rehab, the total amount is 397. So the down payment was 15% of the 365 because he's not borrowing the rehab. So it has a little bit higher. So basically, if you look at the end, the cash out of pocket's a little bit more because he's paying for the 32.5 rehab himself. Does that make sense? When you're looking at it here, same numbers, higher down payment because we're asked for the down payment of both of these, 15%
I
of
see.
these.
Basically, it includes the rehab cost. I mean, this one.
This one,
doesn't include the
it
rehab.
pulls down here to paying the rehab out of pocket.
Yeah,
This one here
okay.
pulls down here to not. And again, when you're getting to these $20,000, $30,000 rehabs, it doesn't fluctuate the numbers much, as you can see. I mean, realistically, this one, you make $1,000 less and you save, what, 5, 6, 7,000 less out of pocket and you make $1,000. So if I was to look at these ahead of time, I would do this because I'm only putting out 98 grand instead of 105. I'm basically making the same money. Now he actually sold this for like 520, so he made a lot more money, and he got it done and sold in about 3.5 months. In that situation, he's now on his 4th or 5th flip. But that's the biggest thing is, like he said, is really taking out of I take out of the equation a lot of this like profit stuff and is looking at, and this is not the best. Is there a better example
So the
here?
cash out of pocket is less, even though the down payment.
I'll show you
is-
another one here.
Because it is rolled into, a lot of costs are rolled into the loan. Is
Yeah,
that?
I guess I took them out. Well, sorry.
I think he had one. In the front.
Yeah, I used to have a bunch of them. I took them all out now.
That one.
All right, so here's so 410 purchase, 131. So again, you're gonna always add these two numbers together for the rehab loan. Now this is based on 25%, but you have a total purchase or amount you wanna borrow of
Yeah.
541,000. Your down payment is on this one, 25% of that, so 135. This scenario, same numbers, your down payment is 20% right here of just the purchase, which is 82,000. If you look down here, to complete this, you need 247,000 because you're paying the 131,000
Okay.
yourself. To complete this, you need 175. Now, if we put this at 20, this is what I was saying from the back earlier, it's
Yeah.
probably about 150.
150.
So realistically, for $100,000 less out of pocket, you are making 8,000, a little bit,
Yeah.
$8,300 less. So again, you could find another transaction to do with the $100,000 and maximize your return.
Mm.
So it's really,
Makes sense. Okay.
it's a cash out of pocket and it's a cash on cash return, you know? And we
So-
see more cash investors are like, okay, well, I'd rather see a 30 to 35% return than 18. I'll buy 3 deals than just buy 1 deal. There's some people that, and if you guys go on the Intrust site, we already have the new thing that James was talking about built where you can customize it and put it all together. It's on there. It's like a brand new calculator. You can play with yourself with
Yeah.
sliders and
that would be good.
everything.
Yeah.
And you can change it. You can look at, okay, if I did this in 6 months, this number here is always going to be the lump total, depending on what number you put here. So 9 months of interest is 37,000. If you took it down to 6, it'd probably be
Okay.
28,000. So that number will always fluctuate.
But both are like hard money lending, right?
Yeah, this is just, you're only using
This
us for
is
the
the-
purchase,
yeah.
and this one, you're gonna
Okay.
borrow the rehab fund.
Structure of the loan.
And there are some scenarios, because no one asked this, and someone usually does, there are scenarios where we'll split the rehab with you. That's a common question I get, that say you have $120,000 rehab and you wanna pay for half and you wanna borrow half. We can do it.
Right.
Sometimes it's weird, some people have a little extra money, but they don't wanna put it all in. It gets down to a scope of work. We make you basically highlight the items you're gonna pay for and look at the ones you want us to do. We do a draw and you have to complete the next percentage. Then we do a draw. So there's ways to do that, but it's customized.
It's the same thing as me saying, hey, I just want to, instead of taking a 20% down, I just want to put more down.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, I know the key of this is everyone wants to put the least amount down. I'll finish with this real quick is the way that our loan points are charged, or any lender, is the amount you're borrowing after down payment times by the percent of loan points. So say you have a $400,000 loan times 2% is $8,000 in fees. Say that was 15% down. Say you want to put 25% down, you have a $300,000 loan fee, 2 points is 6. So the more you put down, the less in fees you're going to pay. The more you put down, the lower your monthly interest is. Remember, this is interest only. It's not principal and interest. So sometimes if you have it, if you put a little bit more down, I mean, if you look at it as a lender, it's unadvantageous for us. We think we go with the lowest down payment, charge the most fees, the most interest, but we're about safety, having skin in the game.
Yeah.
But it's not always, there's things to think about. And then you have the other lenders that they make you, on top of their down payment, they want all their fees paid up front. Well, whatever you're paying, and the down payment doesn't go to the lender, it goes to escrow. We don't touch that money. Remember, with us, whatever money you're putting down is actually going to your equity position. With these other companies, you're putting the 10%, 15% down plus the fees, which is going in their pocket. So you're putting more of your money in their pocket right away. So there's different ways to look at it. So, all right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, we are wrapping up. So what we do now is we'll hang out and chat with you guys until all your questions are answered. But you guys, next steps, if you want to kind of move forward, just fill out the survey. We'll get you in for a 101. I know we were actually hanging out in a 101. So we'll go in and start working on your goals, figure out where your next steps are, kind of what your next, especially with your, how to get moving forward. Yeah. Cool. I'm James. So you guys decided on what you're thinking?
Not fully. I talked to King, so he kind of put a couple different things.
Okay. What do you have to say?
Well, he just was looking at like if we're gonna try to do like more rentals or like trying to get into like a fourplex or something like that. So
yeah,
he had me kind of structure a couple things to kind of get in place before the end of the year. But I mean, I'm still kind of leaning more doing like a flip just to kind of add more cash and
build that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to keep the crews going.
Yeah, right now, especially with some of the things.
Well, if you do that, we still look at selling. You have to go buy a primary and then.
I just need to talk to you guys because
Yeah.
kind of just trying to plan it out. There's so many options you can go. So
I would go that route because you can get the low down financing for the primary. And then just what do we think your net would be on your house?
well, that's one thing we're waiting for the CMA.
Oh, yeah. Marlene, did we?
I emailed it to you.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, today you did?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so then we'll look at the CMA, get it off, and then we'll run you a net proceeds too. Because that's what we want to do is we'll look at that and go, okay, hey, can we get you back into a primary with the low down and then we just want to make sure there's enough left over for flipping, which I think you will have.
Because I have part of the flipping just through the company.
Yeah.
Right. And then like the line of credit that I have through the company.
Got it.
And then, so it's just kind of figuring out what to do with the primary or if to not need to do anything with it. Or, I mean, there's just so many options we could take. Right?
Yeah, and that I think what we do is we run that and then we look at the scenarios and they go, okay, this is a smart move to move this way. And sometimes just math is the best way to do it. Okay, is this worth like if we trade our house for this house and we can flip, is that worth it? What's the payment? Because you're in a pretty low payment. The good thing is you have a lot of equity now, it jumped up. So we can run that and then we'll look at, okay, well, there's the cash. Because what I'd like to do is look at it on a cash basis first and then the HELOC and everything.
So yeah, I got that and started the HELOC.
Okay,
So
perfect.
they're waiting on the CMA because he said they, with the assessment, the state assessment or whatever, that needed appraisal first. So
Got it.
Heaton, right, the Banner Bank, he told me to basically figure out where the ARV's at for sure.
Yep.
And then I can look at, is that not gonna be 30 or 60,000?
Got it.
And then that's just like another thing that we can use either as for like a fix and flip, or we can use it as like a down payment for like a fourplex in the primary. Or just.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll go through the CMA, figure out what that number is gonna be, because that will kind of dictate the next steps anyways, like whether it's 30 or 60 will make a big difference.
Mhm.
And then what we'll do is we'll have you come back in, or we can even do it on Zoom, if you're like, hey, I know it's a tough drive.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of just look at, okay, here's the money, if we found these kind of products, it would eat up this much, here's the money down, here's what your payment is, here's what your cash flow is gonna be. And then that leaves you this much, which is gonna get you in this size flip, which is the price points that we were talking about, like where the areas you wanna be in, that won't be an issue, because a lot of that stuff is the cheaper,
Right. South King County.
it'll be South King, Pierce County, the average price won't be under 350 for the purchase.
And I wouldn't be like opposed to just doing like a flip to start off, because it just helps me keep my guys busy.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, there's because right, how much was